talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Score a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 10 a.m.
Fenerbahce.
I'm Nick Ellaby.
In Turkey, so that's a pretty big clue as well.
Sorry about that. That was Alex Crook talking about Ange Postecoglou, who we understand is ready to accept the Nottingham Forest job. Marinakis wants to make a swift appointment after sacking Nuno Espirito Santo. We've also heard the Forest owner admires Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola. Nottingham Forest's next game is away to Arsenal, live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Now, the Serbian FA are asking fans to be on their best behaviour tonight. The stadium is at reduced capacity after Albanians were abused during their recent qualifier with Serbia. Here's our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers. That was Ali McCoist. I am 2-0 down already in this bulletin. We'll see what happens next. Harry Kane is ready to leave England off if they are subjected to racism tonight. Serbia versus England is live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. Meanwhile, you heard him at the end there. Ali McCoist is upbeat about Scotland's chances of making the World Cup. They're joint top after 2 games with home ties against Greece and Belarus coming up. McCoist says Ben Gannon-Doak has to play in those qualifiers in October, and Ben Stokes will be fit to play in the Ashes this winter, according to his Durham coach. After a shoulder injury, Stokes is batting again in the nets. Bowling will take a bit longer. There's loads more Ashes build up on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News. talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With our wide range of services on offer, including tyres, MOTs, servicing and brakes, you can drive away happy every time.
Shambles across the west and southwest. It's wet. Best of the sunshine across the north and east.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT. So Nuno sacked by Nottingham Forest weeks after opening up on his relationship with Marinakis was the writing on the wall. And Ange Postecoglou, is he the right fit? Meantime, the Premier League versus Manchester City, a truce of some sorts for now. Also today, are Scotland about to achieve something they haven't since 1998? Records or trophies, what's more significant? The club is not for sale, is that becoming more or less believable each time Tottenham tell us? And promoter Frank Warren joins us live in studio ahead of what promises to be a thrilling boxing finale to 2025. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
I was just thinking, as you were coming into the studio and taking your seat. Good morning, anyway.
You're heavy lifting for you, that one.
It was a bit of heavy lifting. Good morning. Simon, isn't football intriguing? Quite an international break, isn't it? The man who sacked Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham, Daniel Levy, has sacked himself. And now Postecoglou seemingly set to return to football with Nottingham Forest and should be in situ for the game versus Tottenham's North London rivals Arsenal on Saturday, live on talkSPORT. That's football, isn't it?
It is. It is. Or there's a dearth of talent to go around, so you have to keep on giving your back to other people's cast-offs.
Or do you think? I mean, is Ange a cast-off from elsewhere?
Well, he's cast off from Spurs, isn't he? Cast asunder. Whether he's going to have learnt lessons from Tottenham and subsequently deploy them differently at Nottingham Forest, he'll have the same challenges. Nottingham Forest are looking upwards. Marinakis is no easy person to work for. in terms of very demanding, and so he should be because he spends the money and gives him the right to be demanding. And Nottingham Forest have ambitions to win things. So if he sets himself up the same way as he did for Tottenham, then he'll have the same challenges, won't he? Interesting fit.
While I was getting used to the idea that Scotland had won last night, and I'm getting my head down, and you no doubt were snoozing in your palatial apartment not far from me, Nottingham Forest popped out the statement, and this is it, Sam, 12:15 a.m. Nottingham Forest Football Club confirms that following recent circumstances, Nuno Espirito Santo has today been relieved of his duties as head coach. The club thanks him for his contribution, blah, blah, blah. As someone, you'll be getting a message from somebody important, as someone who played a pivotal role in our success last season, he will always hold a special place in our journey. Simon, was there a more predictable ending?
Not really, no. I mean, when we addressed the subject 10 days ago, when the manager decided to take it upon himself to avail the world of his personal relationship with the owner, it was inevitable. I said to you at the time, I think in the studio, that's him gone. And so he has. Marinakis was quite sanguine about it last week, wasn't he? And quite balanced in his outlook, and talked about the emotional nature of managers and so on and so forth, and came back and sacked the fella.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised. Brought it upon himself. It's not a casualty of football management where owners are being irresponsible and sacking people without giving them enough opportunity and so on and so forth. This is a manager that he's prepared to say the things he said for no reason. There's no necessity for it. And it's the similar thing that he did at Wolves. I think they got fed up with him at Wolves doing this sort of stuff. And coming out and saying what his relationship with the owner is, to the public, to the media, is a stupid thing to do. What do you expect to happen?
So what, he was asking for it, was it?
We got it. He got what he asked for.
Was it? He was asking for it, was he? When he said this in August?
I always had a very good relationship with the owner. Last season was very, very, very close, almost daily basis. This season, not so well. But I always believe that dialogue and what you say or your opinion is always valid, because my concern is the squad and the season that we have ahead of us. But our relations has changed.
It's changed?
Yeah, it's not so close. It's not on a daily basis. So, yeah.
Is that a good thing, though? Or?
No, it's not good. It's not good. I think everybody at the club should be together, but it's not the reality.
I mean, when you hear that,
it's absurd.
There's an element of poking the bear there, isn't it?
It's absurd. It's absurd. You're an employee. You wouldn't appreciate your players going into the media and saying, my relationship with the manager, not so good. We had a good relationship last year, not so good now. We don't talk very much. What would Nuno Espirito Santo do in that situation? He'd probably go apoplectic. He'd probably want the player moved out of the football club or nowhere near him. It's a ridiculous overreach. For whatever reason, he felt the necessity to do it. And whether he's bothered or not, or whether he goes out with his currency at its highest, and subsequently people will be looking at him in a different way and other opportunities may come this way, it's a ridiculous thing to do. It's a completely out of context. People will say, those that want to subscribe to the view that managers should be able to say what they want, that managers run football clubs. They really don't. Managers work for football clubs. They're a very important part of it. They run the core proposition of the football team, but they answer to somebody. And everybody in life answers to somebody. There's a group of people out there that will listen to this and think that it's always an ex-owner talking. It's common sense. You don't walk around in your job being able to say what you want about your bosses. So why do you think a football manager is anything different just because he's the face talking to the media about the football team that he produces with other people's money?
Well, it's cost him, hasn't it?
Yeah,
and then when
he's a fool.
We heard Marinakis, Simon. He was at the Europa League draw.
Good manager, by the way. Good job last year. Brilliant job.
Yeah, well, this is it. And this was really must cause a lot of anguish amongst some of the Forest fans this morning. And we'll get to that. But then Marinakis pitches up at the Europa League draw for TNT Sport. And when he said the relationship is fine, you have to wonder, had he already made his mind up about what he was going to do with Nuno? This was Marinakis.
We have a solid relation. And of course, sometimes we can be nervous, we can say one thing, we can say another, but what counts at the end of the day is the real relation between me and Nuno, between Nuno and the players, and between the players and ourselves, and everything is solid. We all want Nottingham to succeed. And also, we are here in the good days, but we are even closer in the difficult days. So personally, I don't see a problem.
He doesn't have a problem, just fired him. And the key message from that is we're very close in the good days and even closer in the bad days. So what the manager's done is precisely what football managers do. Unless they get what they want, they're out there flapping their gums in the media, suggesting things aren't quite as they want them to be. That's the underlying influence. Whatever you think of Marinakis, he's not a man to be trifled with. He's not a man to play games with. He's a serious individual that operates at a very significant level. Just ask Morgan Gibbs-White, but probably concentrated his mind as to reasons why he said and what was said to him, if you get him off the record ever at some point in his career going forward. But
does he impress you, Marinakis?
Presentation-wise, no, not particularly. Actions-wise, I mean, the old expression, don't judge people by what they say, judge them by what they do. And he does things. You know, he went against the grain when people felt he was going to fire Steve, the manager that he had took him up from the Championship. Steve Cooper. And everyone thought that he was going to fire him, and he didn't. He gave him an extended contract. He doesn't muck about. He backs himself. He backs his club. He stands behind. If you ask Nottingham Forest fans what they think of him, what they should do is they should have a pedestal, hold him up on a pedestal. You know, some people might think he's a wrong, and I think Nottingham Forest would turn around and say he's their wrong. And depends what you describe a wrong and as. He doesn't muck about. If somebody says things he doesn't like, he constantly. You know, I like the fact that Neville gets to say what he wants when and where he wants, like me sometimes, and never got the consequence. You don't come to my football stadium. You don't call me a member of the mafia. You don't allege that my attitude is mafia based and then expect to rock in my stadium whilst you do it. I quite like that. I did that sort of stuff. It doesn't hold you in good stead in the end, because at the end of the day, you won't make many friends, and the only person you'll have as a safety net is yourself. If you're comfortable with that, then it's fine. He has catapulted Nottingham Forest from 23 years in the doldrums to into the Premier League with success, you know, and ambition as almost bedfellows now, because he's pushed them up into a European spot, albeit on the shoulders of Crystal Palace and their failings. They had a brilliant season last year. He's backed it with money, and you can't ask for a lot more than that. He does everything that a football club owner that's committed to his football club should do. But
he does do one thing one moment, Simon, then another the next. I mean, in June, he gave Nuno a new 3-year deal,
and Nuno opened his mouth. And Nuno, so now whether Marinakis can have him out on his toes with some sort of consequence and doesn't have to pay him for 3 years because he's breached some sort of governance, or simply has to pay him. I mean, Marinakis won't weigh that. Why about that? The salary that Nuno's on, comparison with what the fellow earns and his worth is peanuts. The principle of it is that the manager brought this upon himself. He probably had some justified points, and he may well have a deteriorating relationship with the owner, or a slightly distant. Do you know whose prerogative that is? The guy that you work for. That's his prerogative.
Do you think it was a private conversation that Nuno had with Marinakis, and Nuno, for whatever reason, decided, I'm going to say something here, and did, and said, you know, we're not as close as we used to be, and thereafter he wrote his own death warrant?
Well, yeah, of course he did. And whether the mixture of Edu coming into the equation and the policy that the owner wants to divest authority down to him, which, by the way, is his gift, and what Nuno Espirito Santo has the choice of is getting on with it or not getting on with it.
So Nuno was asking for it, as far as you're concerned.
He got what he asked for. What did he think? With all good conscience, what did you think was going to happen when you said that? Did you think you were going to get a pat on the back? Did you think that the owner, if you don't know him, if you don't know what someone's going to do, then you're a fool if you do it in public. If you do know what they're going to do, then you shouldn't be surprised. And if he knew what person Marinakis is, given he had such a close relationship with last year, then he must know what the reaction was going to be. Because I sat here in the studio and said to you, see ya.
Yeah. No, you did.
That's him gone.
And you have to wonder what's on the horizon if Ange, as expected, is announced as Nuno's successor. Because Ange is an honest and open guy.
Well, he's another one that says absurd things.
Yeah, but he speaks his mind.
Yeah, but sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut. We can all speak our minds. We can all come out with exactly what we think at the precise moment in time, then do immeasurable harm to ourselves and the circumstances around it.
Are you having the Ange appointment as and when it's announced?
Well, I'm a great liker of Ange Postecoglou. I haven't changed my view about his personality. I've changed my view about his capability. Because you look at the situation last year, you look at the ridiculousness of the way that Ange kept on asking for the media to hit him with a brick, so they did. He kept on giving them the brick to throw at him. And then eventually he produces a team that finishes 17th in the league and scrapes by in a Europa League, which is wonderful Spurs, but was an awful Europa League final. Against anyone else, they probably would have gotten beaten. But the fact of the matter is that I don't think... Is Ange Postecoglou's reputation been enhanced by Spurs? I can't say that it has. And that's coming from someone that likes the cut of his jib.
Yeah. I'll put it out there this morning to Forest fans, and obviously we're going to hear from you. Going to hear from one of your own, club legend, very shortly. But as for Nuno, was he asking for it? You know, when he came out publicly and said, no, we're not the same anymore. The owner, myself, we don't have the same kind of intensity, closeness in the relationship anymore. There and then, was he asking to be sacked? Because he has been sacked. And are you sorry to see him go? 03717 2233 44. And as if this is a quiet international break, as if that's not enough, the strong possibility is that Ange Postecoglou will be in the away technical area on Saturday when Nottingham Forest are at Arsenal. Are you having that, Forest fans? Ange Postecoglou coming in off the back of the departure of Nuno Espirito Santo. The game is live on talkSPORT, but before that, tell us if you're having that very idea, that very move on Marinakis' part. 03717 223344. Ange for Forest? Is that next? You tell us. In advance of the calls coming in, I just want to thank all the Forest fans because you're making your move and you're being very clear that so many of you want to join Simon and myself on the show this morning. So we're going to do that. About 10:30, we're going to have as many of you on as we can to hear your views on the sacking of Nuno Espirito Santo. Simon saying, to a large extent, the guy had it coming, because he was outspoken about his relationship with your owner, Evangelos Marinakis. And you got to be careful. You got to be careful when you deal with Marinakis. That is for sure. And I think Nuno is experiencing that this morning because he's out of a job and wondering what hit me. Out he goes. And Marinakis, it is being widely reported, set to appoint Ange Postecoglou. So we'll look at that very shortly. Will Postecoglou be in charge of Nottingham Forest when they play Arsenal on Saturday? It's a game you can hear live on talkSPORT. But what do some of the Forest greats think about what's going on at the football club? England are in faraway Serbia. Tonight they play a World Cup qualifier against the Serbians. And on duty for us, for talkSPORT, on commentary duty is Forest and England legend Stuart Pearce. And I'm delighted to say Stuart is in position earlier than maybe you might have expected to join us live on the show this morning because matters Nottingham Forest front and centre. Stuart, good morning, mate. Nuno has gone. What do you make of events at your old club?
Well, I've got to say, and good morning, gentlemen, I'm a little bit saddened, actually. I think that the Forest have lost a manager in Steve Cooper that the fans were disappointed to lose. And I think the same will be said about Nuno as well. The club seem to have a lot of stability, European campaign to look forward to this season, more than established in the Premier League. And, you know, with Nuno, I don't know, maybe saying a couple of the things that he said before publicly, maybe the writing was on the wall, you know, but I'm a little bit disappointed. I think he done well for Forest and established a very, very good style of play that all the players bought into.
But Stuart, it begs the question, did Nuno somewhat fatally misjudge Evangelos Marinakis?
I would answer that question and say no. He's not a stupid man, Nuno. I think when you know, you come out and say things about. I don't think he talked disrespectfully about the owner in any way, shape, or form. But what he did do was he made his feelings public, and I think whenever you do that, all of a sudden it changes the dynamic of your relationship. Whether he done it as a means to an end or whether he done it as an exit strategy, who knows?
Stu, do you think he'll be Espirito Santo will be upset to have been fired?
In all honesty, I think because he come out and said what he did in the media, maybe he thought that his relationship at the club had run its test of time, and potentially I think when you do come out and say things like that to an owner that's got a reputation of moving managers on, that you can't be surprised if the owner pushes the button in some way. So I think maybe he thought, this is untenable, I can't work in this relationship anymore. I'm second guessing. I don't know from the inside.
When you heard him, Stu, when you heard him say what he said, what was your first reaction? Did you think, yes, like I did, mate, that's your lot?
I thought that's a dangerous tactic, Simon. That's what I thought. I think you're poking the bear, as they say, you know, and obviously the bear reacted. So,
but given all the things that you've just said, right, about your club, which is progressive, an owner that spends money in good order, everything going the right direction, the club starting the season relatively well, all besides one bad game against West Ham. Why would Nuno Espirito Santo need to set the place on fire by doing what he did and giving Marinakis the excuse to pull the trigger?
Well, maybe his relationship, and he saw his relationship with the owner coming to a close, and he was exasperated by it, you know. Don't forget, we've had the owner on the pitch as well at some stage. I wouldn't say confronting the manager, but talking to the owner in the public forum, you know. So, so, listen, I think both individuals, let's not write them off. They're intelligent individuals and they know what their action might incur from the opposite individual.
Stuart, we are hearing Ange Postecoglou. In some quarters, it's being strongly reported to be confirmed as Forest head coach imminently. What's your take on it?
Well, first thing that sprung to my mind was style of play is probably counter to how Forest have been playing and the success that Forest have been playing. Very much a counter-attack style of play, defending deep, which suits Marinakis and one or two others. I think we saw against West Ham when they come out and chase the game, they become a little bit open and vulnerable. Now, Ange plays a style of play that is more expansive, more open. So I think if it is him to come in, the style of play's got to change and is going to change. There's no doubt about that. And how that suits the squad of players that have been used to playing in one style, that was the big thing for me. I enjoy Ange, I enjoy listening to him, and in all honesty, I enjoy getting in my car and going to cover games where he puts teams on the pitch.
Lovely, Stu. Do you like the fit? Do you like the fit for Forest with Ange? And don't sit on the fence.
Right. The only thing that worries me, Simon, is the style of play. I think there's a group of players here that have got into a groove, and the style of play has brought them success. That counter-attack, I think certainly the two centre-halves enjoy having people around them to cover them up a little bit and gets the best out of them. If you're going to play expansive and open, does that suit Forest with their counter-attack method of play? That's my question mark with Ange.
So, Stuart, England-Andorra, sorry, mate, was a bit of a snooze fest. What are you hoping for tonight in Serbia?
Yeah, I've probably got a slightly different mentality to that. I thought I could sit there and commentate on that game and I could see the team getting on the front foot a little bit more. I'm a little bit more positive about the Andorra game than probably a lot of people are. Tonight, totally different game. The Serbs have got to come out and play a little bit. They've got to go after us. Might suit us a little bit. But this is the acid test tonight. It's going to be a really tough game, no doubt about that. But I think we need to rise to the occasion and they need to build on what they did against Andorra, getting on the front foot, being more aggressive with their play, taking people on, delivering balls into the box.
Stu, as you were a fully paid-up member of the Gareth Southgate fan club, how do you look at the progress of Tuchel and what's the direction of travel with him?
Little bit underwhelmed, I must say, at the moment. I expect him to come in and had a little bit more of an impact, I've got to say. The only time he'll be really tested and we'll actually know is probably next summer. So we've got to be a little bit patient and wait until next summer. He's been brought in to take us from finalists and semi-finalists to winning that trophy. I think that's a big ask in North America, I really do, and Mexico. I worry about what's left after the World Cup if they decide to go in a different direction at that stage. That worries me with England, Simon.
Stuart, good to hear from you. Oh, and Stuart, you'll have noticed Scotland won last night.
No, didn't know that at all. Who were they playing? I don't know anything, mate. I deny any knowledge.
Stuart Pearce in Serbia, we thank you. Stuart Pearce on co-commentary duty tonight for Serbia against England, live on talkSPORT. But Forest fans, you're getting used to this idea. It's all happening very quickly, is it not? Nuno has gone, sacked overnight. Ange Postecoglou, the man in the frame, the name in the frame to come in and replace Nuno Espirito Santo. What is going on at your club and are you having it? You better, because this is a Marinakis way. 03717 223344.
understand, Ange Postecoglou is ready to accept the Nottingham Forest job. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I believe he's turned down the advances of Fenerbahce in recent days over in Turkey, so that's a pretty big clue as well. And I think what attracts Evangelos Marinakis, the Forest owner, to Postecoglou is what we were speaking about earlier this morning, that attacking, exciting playing style.
Marinakis wants to make a swift appointment. We've also heard the Forest owner admires Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola. Nottingham Forest's next game is away to Arsenal, and that's live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Now, the Serbian FA are asking fans to be on their best behaviour tonight. The stadium's at reduced capacity after Albanians were abused during their recent qualifier in Serbia. Here's our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers.
They could potentially be sanctioned again by UEFA for any indiscretions tonight, and then have to play that crucial game against Albania behind closed doors. So, you know, hopefully tonight will go without incident.
Well, Harry Kane's ready to lead England off if they're subject to any racism. Serbia versus England is live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. And Ben Stokes will be fit to play in the Ashes this winter, according to his Durham coach. After a shoulder injury, Stokes is batting again in the nets, but bowling will take a little bit longer. Loads more Ashes build up on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
Good morning, everybody. Manchester City in the Premier League have reached a settlement over a legal challenge instigated by City regarding the associated party transaction rules. We'll get that put into a great deal of perspective by Stefan Borson, FFP expert, when Stefan stops by shortly. For the moment, it's Jim White, Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. We're also live, of course, on your TV in a widespread way, and we're delighted about that. We are picking over the bones of what went on overnight, because overnight we saw the statement. Nottingham Forest Football Club confirms it following recent circumstances. Nuno Espirito Santo has today been relieved of his duties as head coach. Nuno has gone, and now it's being widely reported it is a matter of time. So much so it could well be sometime today, maybe this morning, that Ange Postecoglou will be announced as Nuno's replacement. Forest fans, are you having that? It's that simple. 03717 223344, and you are calling us, I'm delighted to say, in big numbers. And Sean is first up, who's a huge Forest fan. Sean, good morning. Simon is here, so am I. But what do you want to say in this? Nuno's gone. What's your take on it?
Good morning. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning.
Great show as ever.
Thank you.
But I always think, way back when you look at the actual, when you look at sort of the when we had the great Brian Clough came in.
Yeah.
He was under, no Forest fan wanted him because he was ex-Derby. We had Nuno Santos now, God bless him, is, you know, gone. What he's done was a great job, but I think he only had one style of football. And I think with Postecoglou, I think we probably get the same thing. So, he has one style of football.
Right.
And he can't change.
So are you pretty nonplussed, Sean, if it is Ange?
I personally, no. I don't think he's the right fit for Forest.
Who is?
well, what choice have we got? Because who's out there and who's willing to come in?
Well, I mean, Sean, we're well nigh certain it's going to be Ange, but as Nuno really done it to himself here by being as outspoken as he was about your owner, who's a controversial figure and speaks his mind, was Nuno asking for it?
In a sense, yes, he was. I think he shouldn't have spoken out the way he did. He should have done a bit more in a more diplomatic way and just carried on and coached the football team.
Yeah, Sean, listen, thank you for your call.
Don't deal with the politics.
Thanks a lot for your call, Sean. So many calls. I'm going to go to Richard, who's another Forest fan. It's a simple question, Richard. Did Nuno deserve to be sacked?
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
I think on the face value, yes. I mean, I was a big Nuno fan, big advocate, but I think the way that it was going with some of the things that have been said and the fallouts, I think it potentially was the right time, yeah.
And again, you probably heard Simon earlier on. He was outspoken, wasn't he? And we know what Marinakis is like. Was it totally ill-advised on Nuno's part to say what he said?
I think potentially, yeah. I think potentially. I mean, what goes on behind closed doors, we'll never really know. But one sort of sentence that is very familiar at Forest these days is trust the process. So, in terms of the fans moving forward, Ange maybe not a fan favourite, but when Stevie Cooper went, was Nuno? Probably not. So, I think trusting the process is the way to go and stick with it and see how it pans out. Interesting, Simon.
Well, I think
you hear Richard saying trust the process.
Well, the process being Marinakis.
Yeah,
and you can't not. How can you? And there was some great people at Forest. Nigel Dougherty was a friend of mine. I was very fond of him. He was a committed Nottingham Forest supporter. He couldn't get them promoted. Marinakis has. So after this long period of time where Forest have been in decline, managed decline, Marinakis has come and shown them a vision. I mean, when you look at it and you take yourself out of the equation, I would imagine, thinking about it as I'm now thinking, probably Nuno wanted to get fired. Because if he doesn't know the animal, like Stuart was saying, if he's an intelligent man, he's an intelligent man. Okay, he's an intelligent man. It's all relative intelligence, isn't it? But in terms of football intelligence, he understands the ramifications of perhaps talking about Marinakis. It would suggest that perhaps the environment he worked in, I don't think there's any manager, Jim, irrespective of the orthodoxy, whether you believe in what managers should and shouldn't do, and the sacrosanct nature of the dressing room and all that rubbish, no manager would have liked to see their owner on the pitch the way Marinakis did at the end of the season, and some of the other things that have gone on. They won't like that. They'll endure it, and maybe that was part of it, and maybe Edu being brought in and the dynamics changing between the job that he took and the job that he now had and the people that he was relating to all come to the fore, and rather than walk away from a contract, he gets himself fired. So if he gets himself fired, what happens to him? He gets paid. So there could be an element of that in it. So when I talk about him being a fool, if he wanted to keep the job, then he's a fool for opening his mouth. If he didn't want to keep the job and wanted to engineer an outcome where he got paid for saying something the owner didn't like, well, he's done that too, hasn't he?
Liam, big Forest fan, do you agree with Simon when Simon says Nuno got himself sacked?
Well, yeah, of course he did. You shouldn't have come out and said those words against your manager.
Yeah.
No one in the normal day and age would talk about their owner or their boss like that. They'd expect to get the sack.
Do you trust the process, Liam?
Do
you trust Marinakis?
Well, I was looking at the recent managers of what Marinakis has had. So starting with, we had Martin O'Neill, obviously got rid of him. They then brought in Chris Hughton, didn't go well. Sabri Lamucci went well. That was before Chris Hughton. Then you go to Steve Cooper, then Nuno, and we've gone up and up and up. So hopefully, we go up again. But I can't see Ange being any good. I just can't see it.
Really? You and what you're saying is, if it was down to you, you wouldn't want Ange. You wouldn't make the move for Ange.
I'd employ him for the netball team, maybe, yeah, but I wouldn't employ him for the Forest team. No, I wouldn't.
All right. Listen, thanks for the call. Finish with Sam, who's a big Forest fan. Sam, you've been listening to this. What's your take on it? Nuno's gone. Was he asking to be sacked? And if it is Ange, are you having Ange?
Hi, Jim. Hi, Simon.
Morning. Hi, Sam.
Yeah, in total, I think you're completely right. He wanted to get sacked, 100%. I don't know whether he's got another job lined up or something he wants to do. But when he came out, even before we kicked a ball this season and said that he wasn't happy with the squad, I think he was eyeing his own exit. As for Ange, really not happy if that's the appointment, to be honest with you. I mean, just look at this season last year, was abysmal at best. 17th in the league with Spurs. Yeah, he got a bit of silverware for there around his neck. But other than that, I don't think it was anything spectacular. I don't think it's the direction we want to move in as a club.
Okay, Sam, thank you for that. Would you expect that to be the reaction of Forest fans this morning, Simon? He's not wrong, Sam. Where Tottenham finished last season in the Premier League was inexcusable, but they lifted a European trophy.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, look, logic prevails that you look at it and say finishing 17th in the league with Nottingham Forest finishing wherever they finished, 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
And Spurs having an abundance of riches and a much bigger club at this stage than Nottingham Forest are, or Nottingham Forest are, that you look at it in isolation and you say, no, you can understand some of the reaction. It'd be interesting to see all those people that came out and spoke in favour of Ange Postecoglou and felt that he was hard done by being sacked. I wonder what argument they'd make to sort of address the Forest fans' concerns. You know, because I don't make an argument for Ange in this situation. I felt he deserved to get fired at Tottenham Hotspur, and fired he got. I feel that his style of play, whilst buccaneering and swashbuckling, doesn't have balance to it, and so he got consequences for it. And Forest aren't set up that way, so he's going to have to dismantle it, or adapt his thinking. So neither of those were a perfect fit. So it'd be fascinating to see all those people that were in the camp of saying, I think which Alan McCoist is one of them, by the way, about the idea it was outrageous to sack him at Tottenham. What case would they make for employing him at Forest, given they felt it was hard done by being sacked at Spurs?
Right. I can tell you, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because I am being advised it is Ange Postecoglou, and he will succeed Nuno Espirito Santo, who was succeeded overnight. All we need to know now is when the announcement will come. But I am advised it will be Ange Postecoglou, who takes over from Nuno. And of course, he's going to be in the technical area on Saturday when Forest go to Arsenal. And it's live in talkSPORT. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, September the 9th. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. As you know, you can watch us everywhere nowadays, and we're delighted about that. Coming to you live from the new studio here on the 17th floor. We're live on Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. We are live. You can find us. You can watch the show as well as listen to it. And there certainly is a lot going on out there this morning. We're right across it. I am advised that Ange Postecoglou will take over from Nuno Espirito Santo. It is agreed. Nuno has gone. Ange is coming in. He's agreed to become the next Forest head coach. And the next game for Nottingham Forest is at Arsenal on Saturday after this international break. And the game itself is live on talkSPORT. We're going to get back to Nottingham Forest very shortly. So many of you still calling in. We'll see if we can get back to that. But there is so much going on. And I'm delighted to say that football finance expert Stefan Borsen has dropped into the studio. The purpose being to talk about Manchester City and the associated party transaction rules. We're going to get to Nottingham Forest, Stefan, but let's kick off with the situation with City. Manchester City and the Premier League have reached an agreement over a legal challenge instigated by City regarding associated party transaction rules. I know I'm asking a lot, Stephen. Break it down for me. The rules. Can you explain for those who don't know what that's about?
Yeah, well, I'll try and do it quickly. I mean, if you remember on the back of Newcastle and the takeover by the Saudis, there was a panicked situation within the Premier League room. And between them, they came up with a new set of rules to strengthen the related party rules and bring in what's known as associated party transaction rules. Now, ironically, it transpires that most of Newcastle's sponsorships are actually related party transactions, and therefore the old rules in any event would have captured the main sponsorship. But put that to one side, because clearly the people in the room, the other clubs, wanted to capture Manchester City as well as Newcastle United and potentially other clubs in the future. And actually, as it's transpired, Chelsea have also been captured by those rules. Anyway, in 2021, they were brought in. They were then went through a period where there wasn't much noise around the deals that had been approved by them. They effectively ensured that deals with related and connected parties were captured and therefore needed to be reviewed by the Premier League. In 2023, the Premier League clubs wanted to strengthen those rules, and they took some legal advice, and the legal advice said, just be careful here, but went ahead anyway. City threatened at that point to commence proceedings challenging the legality of those rules, but they went ahead and they were voted through narrowly in February of 2024. City did go ahead with the arbitration, and we know in September of 2024, City successfully challenged the APT rules as being unlawful. Shortly after that, the clubs went back to the table and put in place a replacement set of rules, which they claimed were lawful. City said, well, hang on a minute, you shouldn't have done that. So we are going to go after APT rules again in another arbitration. And yesterday, the parties agreed that they would settle the situation and that the rules that were put in place following the panel saying that they weren't lawful, the replacement rules, City now accept that those are valid and are lawful, and we don't know the terms of the settlement, but we do know that City have accepted that particular point. I think it is safe to say that there are obviously other things that City received to accept that position that we don't know about because it's confidential.
I see. Stefan, answer this for me. How can Manchester City go from claiming the rules are discriminatory to claiming that they're valid and binding, actually? I mean, who has folded here?
Well, in fairness, there has been a very lengthy process with some of the leading barristers in the world, actually, in front of a very, very high-quality legal panel that have given both parties quite a lot of guidance as to their thinking on the topic and their thinking about whether those rules are fair in the first place. And I think it's reasonable that following the changes that were made to the rules that reversed a lot of the changes that were made in 2024, so that we now have a 2021 set of rules, the original sets, which in many ways the panel had endorsed in that hearing. They had said that there was a legitimate purpose for having APT rules that went against Manchester City. It wasn't, if you remember, it wasn't a complete whitewash for City. City didn't win every point at the hearing.
Right.
It was a narrow win. They got some
Right.
good concessions. And of course, the overall position was that the rules as they were unlawful. But it didn't say that related party was illegitimate, and it didn't say that APT was illegitimate. It just said that that version of APT was wrong. And so City always knew that at some point the clubs were going to be able to vote through a version of APT. So I think that's why I think City ultimately were happy to accept a settlement.
Right.
We don't know what they got for accepting the settlement. They definitely will have got something because
who will?
City. Because APT2, the one that was coming up now, was a one-way bet for City. Their only way of losing was the costs, because the position is already in the rule book. So even if they'd have had a complete loss in APT2, the only consequence would have been some maybe a couple of £1 million of costs. So City were on a free hit in APT2. It could have been very damaging for the Premier League to lose APT2. Therefore, it made sense for the Premier League to get round the table and commercially agree something. I suspect that the sorts of things that City won as concessions involved costs of the whole thing.
The whole thing?
Well, I think they'll have got a large proportion of the cost of the whole thing.
All the legal costs?
Yeah, in negotiating that deal, yes. Perhaps a concession that the Premier League would put back to the clubs some changes to the current APT rules around the edges. So the Premier League can't commit to make changes to the rules because they have to be voted on. But the Premier League might have said, at the next meeting, we will propose X, Y, and Z. And then the other thing that may have been offered as part of this settlement is compensation for some of the... there was a couple of sponsorship agreements, one with Etihad, which was not fully approved previously, and one with the First Abu Dhabi Bank, which was approved, but only at a lower level. So City had to accept not the full amount that was submitted,
right,
but a reduced amount for fair market value. So maybe City got some compensation out of the Premier League as well.
So, Stefan, I'll throw to Simon. In that, the way I see it, and I know it's simplistic, all these years on, it's as you were.
Not really.
Well, there's a settlement.
Well, yeah, but Man City moved...
Back from 2021.
But 2021 was revised in 2023.
City aren't unhappy, and the Premier League aren't unhappy.
Yeah, but points have been made on both parties. Man City have moved the dial. They have made their points. They have created their own framework for certain things, and they've got a response from it. I mean, the clubs will be not, if Stefan's right, and I have no reason to suggest that he wouldn't be in this instance, that they've had to pay compensation for things. The clubs won't be thrilled by that. And concessions going back from City to get Richard Masters, to get the clubs to understand certain things or to potentially vote through certain things. This is about leadership. That's Masters' job. That's what he should be doing. If he's made a deal with Man City and made some concessions, then he has to deliver them to some extent back to the Premier League and make sure that the clubs understand why those decisions have been made.
I mean, I think it's important that first of all, I agree with you in terms of it is the job of the chief executive of the Premier League to get through these conflicts,
yeah,
and bring the parties forward and make agreements. But I don't think that he was empowered or would have been able to offer a guarantee to
I hear you.
City
I hear you. No,
of changes.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
And so I don't think City could accept a kind of soft promise.
Yeah,
no,
I hear you.
So
yeah.
I think
Stefan, I'm being asked by many here, and I know we're coming up to the 11 o'clock bulletin, but I'm determined to get this in. We need to be clear to the listeners, do we not? This case is totally separate from the 115.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear. I've always felt it was separate, and I think it's clearer than ever that it is distinct now, and that there isn't this conspiracy theory interaction between the two cases. I think City took it on, one, out of principle, and two, partly from an optical perspective.
Yeah.
To show that they wouldn't just be bashed around by the Premier League.
Right.
And that they were happy to effectively go to war.
Any truth in this? There's Andy in Manchester. Ask Stephen, Jim. City have got the approval of the original sponsorship deal, which is a huge win, is it not?
Yeah, so there's a couple of points here. First of all, I don't believe that as part of the settlement, the Premier League just waves it through. That's also, if you were to read some of the press last night, that's also the position of the Premier League. So I don't believe it's just been waved through.
Yeah.
But people also need to understand that when in the fair market value assessment, it's not a case of the panel saying, no way, you're not having anything. They say, you can have it, but not at the full amount, so we're going to reduce it. We know for a fact that City have renewed with Etihad because it's emblazoned all over the stadium and all over the kit for the last 2 years.
Yes.
Remember, it's expired. We understand it's expired before 2024. So we know that they have had a renewal. The question has always been around the extent of the escalator, which I can explain if you want.
Maybe the other side of 11 o'clock.
Yeah, sure.
But it is separate to the 115. More from Stefan, the other side, with Simon, of course, the other side of 11 o'clock. And, of course, what we do know is this, changing days, are they not? Both at Tottenham and certainly this morning at Nottingham Forest. We'll get into that next.
Formula One. It's a sport often seen as insular and elitist, but it's seen a meteoric rise under its owners Liberty Media, not only in popularity and viewership, but in the ability to almost print money. From greater access to more races, here's how it happened. For decades, Formula One was owned and run by one man, Bernie Ecclestone. He was old school, someone who thought the sport itself was enough, and there was no need for all this modern marketing and social media nonsense. But in 2016, Ecclestone agreed to sell his baby to American group Liberty Media. It cost Liberty Media $4.4 billion, and they quickly got to work. We got an F1 app almost immediately, and teams were allowed to show us more from behind the scenes. One of Liberty's most important deals was with Netflix, which in 2019 brought us Drive to Survive. The effect? An almost 70% rise in viewership for races in the US alone. It's massively benefited Formula One online too, with a rise from 7.8 million followers across its social media platforms in 2016 to around 50 million today. New eyes are on the sport too, with F1's own subscription TV channel, which people can watch anywhere in the world. But the main market they've tapped into is the US. There's now 3 races there a year, in Texas, Miami and Las Vegas, and an American-branded team, Cadillac, getting involved in the sport too. More races seems to be the direction of travel. A street circuit in Madrid's being welcomed onto the calendar, while conversations around a Grand Prix in Africa have ramped up in the last few years. More big events could be in the offing too, after the massive F1 75 season launch event in London in 2025. 7.5 million people tuned in to watch it live across the social media channels, and that doesn't include the viewing figures for where it was broadcast on TV in certain countries. It seems Liberty will do whatever they can to grow the F1 brand. Their efforts have been worthwhile too, with Forbes valuing the sport at $17.1 billion back in 2023, almost 4 times more than what they bought it for in 2016. Not bad, considering it's seen as a sport where people just drive around in circles.
Good morning, everybody. 6 minutes past 11 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Tuesday, September the 9th. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. Just to recap what we know regards Nottingham Forest. Nuno Espirito Santo sacked overnight. He has gone, certainly pertaining to certain things he said regarding his relationship with the owner of the football club, Evangelos Marinakis. And now Marinakis and the rest of them have moved quickly, and it's expected that Ange Postecoglou will be confirmed as a man to replace Nuno Espirito Santo. It's being reported widely that Postecoglou has agreed a deal to become the next Forest head coach. When that happens, we'll bring it to you first and fastest live on talkSPORT. A lot to get through. Very shortly, we'll talk about events at Tottenham with Daniel Levy moving out of the club. And of course, we'll talk about the event at Nottingham Forest, because that is a developing situation. Stefan Borson, FFP expert, that and a whole lot more, is in studio with Simon and myself. We are talking about Manchester City and the Premier League having reached a settlement over a legal challenge instigated by City regarding the associated party transaction rules. And many people out there, Stefan, claim to know a fair bit about what's going on at City. This is what we get here. Many experts out there, but want to put points that they are making through me to you. And there's another one, a Manchester City fan. Jim, put to Stefan, there are rumours of a £1 billion sponsorship deal with the Etihad Airways with City. How can that be allowed if they've come to some kind of an agreement? Can Stefan clear that up for us?
So we know that City went to the Premier League with a very large Etihad proposal. And we know that the only difference that they had in approving it was on what's known as the escalator, which is what tends to happen is that you'll have an average annual value to the agreement over the length of the agreement, and it will have an escalator that usually deals with inflation or other changes within that agreement. So if you start at, for example, £100 million per annum for the bundle of rights, then by the end of the period, depending on what that escalator percentage is, you may end up with something between 150 and 200 million pounds by the end of the 10-year period. And so the likelihood is, and I've been informed that this when it does eventually get approved, whether it's at the level that Etihad proposed or at an adjusted level, will be the largest British sporting sponsorship deal of all time, and will be well in excess of £1 billion over the 10 years, partly because of the way that escalator works. Because clearly, if you start at 100 million and by the end of it, it's at 150 or 200 million pounds per annum, then over the 10 years, that adds up very, very considerably. So I would expect the total value of it over the 10-year period to be something like 1.5 to 1.75 billion pounds.
Oh my God! Now there is a sponsorship deal, Simon, that you would have welcomed in your time, would you not? If you're an owner of a football club today,
yeah,
and you're looking at a sponsorship deal like that, I know we're talking about
that's why you can
Abu Dhabi owned.
But that's why you can afford to pay Erling Haaland £600,000 a week or whatever he's getting paid. That's why you can afford to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on transfers, because the commercials is one of the parts of the game that the American ownership models will look at and think is underexploited. If you look at the German model and look at the percentage in the German bigger clubs against commercial revenue against broadcasting revenue, is a fundamental necessity. If Comcast suddenly fall off a cliff and decide they no longer want to own Sky, or they no longer want to participate in a certain way, which is likely to happen, or the broadcast deals aren't going to be the same as they once were, you're going to need commercial revenue, so these deals are right and proper. The only thing about this escalator clause, it'd be interesting to see what the metrics are which define it, because it can't be based upon achievement levels increasing, because they've won everything in the start position.
Yeah, it's not bonus related. Bonuses will be separate.
Yeah, I accept that, but I'm talking about in terms of what are the metrics to judge.
So if you were to look at the one we know about from the Ineos Spurs recent case, you actually see the details of that particular one, and that the escalator clause in there is just an RPI clause.
Right.
So
right.
It's about,
3%.
Well, it's actually been, it should be about 3 to 5%, but actually in the first year of the Spurs clause, it was 11% because inflation had got out of control.
Yeah. Well, Stefan, certainly in this international break, and we kind of get used to it, there have been a few seismic announcements. One being Tottenham Hotspur announcing that the chairman, long-time chairman, Daniel Levy, had parted company with the football club. The new chief exec of Tottenham Hotspur, formerly an Arsenal man, would you believe, Venkatesham, has been speaking to the club channel. And on the departure of Levy, he said this.
I really wanted to start today by paying tribute to Daniel. I mean, what he has done at this football club over the last 25 years is extraordinary. He has played a huge part in the transformation of the club, and there are so many examples. For me personally, obviously I was expecting that I was going to be working with Daniel for many years. It's ended up only being a few months, but he's been a wonderful support and counsel to me during that period, and I feel really settled in.
Simon, Stefan, I'll put it to both of you. Are either of you buying this happy family narrative? Hang on. Don't you duck it.
No, I don't duck it. Let Stefan go first.
Stefan.
Well, which family? I mean, so I think the Lewises are a very happy family right now, because I think they seem to have got control of the reins in quite an orchestrated way. I think it was illustrative what Vinay said yesterday, because he talked about his expectation to be working with Daniel Levy for a number of years. I don't think he was lying. I think he said it honestly. And so clearly he was also surprised that the change of events. It's happened after 3 months of him being, 4 months of being in situ. So he's surprised. He talked a lot about how we're going to see a lot of new faces from the Lewis family. Some of them have been around the business, as he said himself. Some of them not so much, and some of them clearly have been put in there to increase the profile of the Lewis family within Tottenham Hotspur. So
Levy's been the victim of a power struggle.
Well, I don't even think it's debatable anymore that that's what's happened. I mean, I think,
and that's what you said from the outset, Simon. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think as every little sort of nugget comes out, the positioning of the Lewis family, the briefings that they're given to the press, this latest interview, I think it all does look like they are now firmly in control. For whatever reason, they wanted Daniel Levy out of the way. It'll become clear, I think, over time as to why that was.
Yeah.
At this point, we can only speculate. But, I suspect that they felt that he was a little bit overly cautious. But the idea that they had no involvement in those strategic decisions, I think, is also obviously not true. So Look, there's a big missing piece for all of us. I mean, to leave so suddenly, to be somebody that's got 26% indirectly of the ownership of the club, and to go overnight after 25 years is clearly not normal.
Well, we'll need to get into the territory as to whether or not this football club is for sale, because Tottenham issued a statement saying they'd rejected 2 preliminary expressions of interest, and then Venkatesham came in on the sale point.
There's been a lot of newspaper articles and a lot of media speculation around takeover, so I can be really clear on this. So the Lewis family are really clear. They see their involvement in Tottenham Hotspur being long-term, and they see their involvement continuing through the generations. We made a statement very late last night, and the statement, I hope, was unambiguously clear that Tottenham Hotspur is not for sale.
Not for sale? Is it not for sale, Stefan?
It doesn't mean will not be sold. So, yes, I mean, look, first of all, 2 years ago, Daniel Levy put out in his annual letter that the club was formally seeking investment, and presumably, therefore, from third parties. So we don't need to speculate. Daniel Levy said as much. That process clearly has not delivered any external parties. I think it's pretty clear from the way that the press reported it over the last 2 years, and there was a piece on the front page of the Sunday Times that people sort of ignore, which said that they were about to do a deal at £3.75 billion with somebody, and then it went very quiet.
Who is it, somebody?
Well, who knows?
Right.
I mean, there's not many people around that would be prepared to value Tottenham Hotspur at £3.75 billion.
You're smiling. You know there's somebody.
Well, I knew the rumours of Bahrainian and American deal, and I know the numbers that the Lewis family were going to receive, but it fell off the table. So it was a non-deal. It was a deal that was worked up, in position, potentially had the tacit acceptance, I think, of the Lewis family, and then it fell away.
Look, we've both been involved in selling football clubs. I can tell you there's a lot of time wasters around when you come to selling a football club. Everybody fancies coming into a executive box, being given a tour of the stadium. When we were selling Manchester City, it was a long time ago, but we literally had people who appeared to be bona fide bidders, who would come to the stadium, would take photographs on the pitch. You know, I'm still not sure to this day whether they actually had any money at all, but because the way that the system works, and it's pertinent here with Spurs because they are captured by the takeover code. The way the takeover code works, if somebody is a bona fide offeror, potential offeror, and they can at least be credible in that process, then you do have to treat them equally to other bidders. And so it means that you get a load of time wasters.
Did you not sell City to Shinawatra?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was involved in the sale of...
Right.
I mean, personally didn't sell it.
But you were
unlike Simon, I had no shares.
But is it likely that former Newcastle United exec Amanda Staveley and her company PCP International Finance Limited, although publicly stating yesterday, Stefan, that they don't intend to submit a formal bid, might just do that?
Well, look, there's a few different aspects to it. First of all, Amanda Staveley is more a broker than a principal. She actually managed to get herself into a principal position at Newcastle, a great achievement, I think. And if you were to ever read the PCP versus Barclays judgment, you'll see that actually she comes across as a well-connected, credible broker in this space. She does have good connections in the Middle East and has delivered deals. I mean, you know, let's not... she has delivered the deal for Newcastle and did deliver a deal partly with Sheikh Mansour and Manchester City, so she is well connected. That said, this is a deal of a completely different scale to either of those transactions.
Yeah,
those transactions were between £200 and £300 million in total. This is 10 times, probably.
Right.
So I very much doubt that she's in a position to be able to herd enough cats together to create the consortium to buy Tottenham Hotspur for, say, £3.5 billion.
Okay. Now, in the meantime, Tottenham Hotspur move forward with the Lewis family still at the helm. A lot to get through. More from Stefan and Simon in a second. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Stephen Borston were live on talkSPORT. It is another busy morning. Nuno Espirito Santo has gone from Nottingham Forest. Incoming, Ange Postecoglou. It's a 2-year deal, as we understand it, for him. At the moment, Stephen is with us, and all sorts of intriguing aspects of finance and football we are discussing with him. And of course, the independent regulator is coming in, green lighted to be in with us about November time. It has been announced that it will bring in new owners and directors test powers, which it claims will stop rogue owners. The new test intends to be more robust than current regimes, with greater due diligence and checks on owners. Simon, before I bring Stephen back into it, I know you're across this, of course you are, but the intention here is the arrival of the regulator will be seen to bite big time in the game.
Depends where it bites. I mean, if it bites Sheffield Wednesday's backside, some people will say that's a good thing, because the owner needs to be dealt with, or the situation surrounding Sheffield Wednesday needs to be taken control of. The EFL don't have the powers. It looks like the regulator's going to have the powers to do this. And so, to some extent, in that particular space, if it starts taking great big wet bites at the Premier League's backside, we'll see how that plays out and what the thought process is behind that. It's an interesting one. UEFA looking at it, watching a government appointee with his remit being determined by Parliament, and suggesting it's not a political appointment, and UEFA's position on that is relatively clear. It'll be interesting. I don't think the regulator that's coming in is going to be a shrinking violet. I think he's going to be relatively robust in his pursuit.
Well, that's surely better, isn't it?
In his pursuit of a peerage.
But that's surely, well, the regulator is in person. The chair is David Cogan. It's surely better that he comes in with bite than comes in with a whimper.
Depends what you do with that bite. Depends if you...
Well, on Sheffield Wednesday, what's he likely to do? Get centrally involved and get right in amongst it.
And I'm all for the regulator coming in and fixing some of the challenges of the EFL. I'm absolutely for pulling the bottom up. But you don't pull the bottom up by pulling the top down. And if you start attacking the Premier League and start looking at redistribution with all the challenges that the Premier League are going to have in the future, one of them being broadcast deals in the next broadcast cycle, you start deconstructing an unprecedented success. I'm not sure that's very clever.
Is that likely, Stefan?
Well, so the powers that they have are surprisingly extensive. So particularly on the owners, directors, senior executives powers and the licensing powers. And I suspect that they will have to choose where they allocate their budgets. The budget that they've got at the moment, according to in the run-up to the formation in Parliament, was £10 million a year, which is definitely insufficient for doing what they've been set out to do. I suspect that what will happen is that they will have to focus on lower division ownership issues and solvency. And in doing so, they will focus on this owners and directors and senior executives testing, and also in some of the powers, and just to be clear what those are, this the Act, and they're under consultation at the moment with the industry, and anybody can go online, pull off the consultation, and also submit their comments in respect of it. But in short, what they can do is go to a club and say, we don't like the way things are going. We think that you're effectively a rogue owner. We think that you might be in solvency issues. And eventually, having gone through a process, the regulator is in a position where it can put in skilled executives to run a situation on their behalf, to try and fix some of the problems with the licence that club has. Now, clearly, clubs like Sheffield Wednesday are going to be straight away in the focus of an independent regulator. It should act in the run-up to the regulator actually starting to act. It should act as a warning sign to anybody that's in the public view. So the Morecambe situation as it was, the Sheffield Wednesday situation as it is, it should be a warning sign to those management teams that be careful, because you would think that the independent regulator is going to want a first scalp. It's going to want to try out its new powers. It's going to want to run its first process of investigation, of disclosure, of, if possible, in its regard, putting in a skilled person. It's going to want to try these things out. It might not want to try them out on a Sheffield Wednesday, but actually, if you look at the individual that David Cogan is, that might be the opposite. He may be the kind of individual that actually says, let's not go slowly. Let's go for a very big target first of all. and Sheffield Wednesday would be that target. So I think it should act as a deterrent for rogue owners to get themselves into a position where they're in the sights of the independent regulator. But we'll have to see.
You want to finish this off, Simon? You look as if you're going to be following up with something that Stephen says. I mean, if I'm Chancery at Sheffield Wednesday, I would expect to be confronted by the regulator sooner than later.
I think that's fair. I think that Chancery has to get his head around what he can sell the football club for, rather than what he thinks it owes him. And I think the regulator being given the powers to concentrate the minds of an ownership model which says if you don't do this and do it in any short order, we can do it for you, and you'll be on the outside looking in. It's the extent of their powers. The overriding issue still remains about the budgeting of this, because you cannot run a regulator with all the complexity of this game, with 92 football clubs, with all the different variances and nuances and different businesses at different times with different ownership models, and expect to do it on 10 million quid. So watch that space. Watch what happens there.
Because there's going to be an industry. I mean, of course, you think Sheffield Wednesday are not going to go off and get, or Chancery is not going to go off and get his own lawyers to defend aggressively against the independent regulator. Of course they are. So you're going to have all these cases that we've been talking about over the years, the cities, and
pick up the regulator's costs for defending it, of course, given the new legislation.
Correct, yeah.
Stefan, brilliant. Stefan Borson with us live this morning. Stefan, thanks for the time you've given us. A short time ago, I said, no, it's not a question of if, it's when Ange Postecoglou is announced as the next Nottingham Forest manager. Well, we were right, because the same Ange Postecoglou has just arrived at the Forest training ground. It's all happening. It's 11:30.
As well. And I think what attracts Evangelos Marinakis, the Forest owner, to Postecoglou is what we were speaking about earlier this morning, that attacking exciting playing style.
Marinakis wants to make a swift appointment. We've also heard the Forest owner admires Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola. Nottingham Forest's next game is away to Arsenal, and that's live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Now, the Serbian FA are asking fans to be on their best behaviour tonight. The stadium's at reduced capacity after Albanians were abused during their recent qualifier in Serbia. Here's our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers.
They could potentially be sanctioned again by UEFA for any indiscretions tonight, and then have to play that crucial game against Albania behind closed doors. So, you know, hopefully tonight will go without incident.
Well, Harry Kane's ready to lead England off if they're subject to any racism. Serbia versus England is live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. And Ben Stokes will be fit to play in the Ashes this winter, according to his Durham coach. After a shoulder injury, Stokes is batting again in the nets, but bowling will take a little bit longer. Loads more Ashes build up on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
It's that time, and on this occasion we're joined by Charlie Robertson from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the top sporting events and the odds around and about them. Belarus 0, Scotland 2. Did you enjoy it, Simon?
Who cares?
Who cares? Chances of their World Cup qualification. I care, and so did the Tartan Army. So does Charlie Robertson. With a name like Robertson, Charlie, where are you at with that this morning? Good morning.
Morning, Jim. Morning, Simon. Yeah, as you mentioned, Jim...
You're not a plastic jock, are you?
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
You're not up there with Sir Rod Stewart, CBE? No?
No. I'm. There's a little bit of Scottish in me, but no, mainly English.
Oh, how unfortunate. Go on.
5 unbeaten on the road for Scotland now, Jim. Another really good performance, I think it was. 9-4 to win the group and 11-20 to finish in the top 2. I think Denmark will probably prove the ones you've got to sort of get past in terms of winning the group. They're 9-10, and Greece, who the Scots face next, are 5-2. Jim, I'll come to you here. Looking at the sort of Scottish team, I think there's a fair amount of room for optimism. Do you think you've got some really good players? Ben Doak, Billy Gilmore, John McGinn, Scott McTominay, like really good players. Do you think there is genuine room for optimism, sort of looking ahead?
Absolutely.
For the Scots at the moment?
Absolutely, I do, Charlie, and I'm so glad that you asked me that with Lord Jordan in such close proximity.
We want you to have optimism. We want that spirit to be built up, so when the balloon eventually gets punctured, we can see it float to the ground and land where it belongs.
Well, we are the boys who...
what? You were the boys of what?
We had an open-top bus parade on the way to the airport.
For the 0-0
we got to Argentina in
with Ali McLeod, absolutely.
With Ali McLeod. No, it is about time, Charlie, is what I would say. I mean, they're trying to get to their first World Cup final since 1998 in France. I was there, of course. We opened the tournament with a match against Brazil in the Stade de France. I was there. Narrow defeat.
I think it'd be great. All joking to one side.
Yeah.
I think if you can get the home nations there with the colour that they bring in terms of the Tartan Army into North America, it'd be brilliant.
No, that's lovely. That's very kind of you.
Relatively quickly.
No one asked you. So, yes. So, what are the odds on Scotland qualifying for the World Cup finals next summer?
Yeah, so 11-20 to finish in the top 2, which I think gets you into the qualification bit, Jim. Sorry, calling you Tom.
No problem,
and 9-4 to win the group. And 9-4 to win the group, which I think if you can beat Denmark, I think your last 2 games, Jim, then you've definitely got a chance. But yeah, 11 to 20, so odds on to finish in the top 2, which will get you into the qualification bit.
Lovely. As someone once said, I would love it. Serbia, England tonight is a World Cup qualifier. It's live on talkSPORT. What are you thinking?
Yeah, looks England's toughest test, I think, this one, Jim. Interestingly, they've actually been really weak this morning in the betting, England, probably on a reaction of the Andorra performance. They were 4-6 last night, now 17-20. The host Serbia is 17-5. And the draw is 49-20. And just a quick sort of check on the goal scorer markets, Jim. Harry Kane, 16-5, favourite to score first. He obviously scores a lot of goals against these sort of sides. 29-20 to find the net any time. While for Serbia, Newcastle and Fulham fans will remember Alexander Mitrovic. I think he's playing Qatar now, but he's 23-4 to score first and 5-2 to score any time. I was listening to you guys chatting to Stuart Pearce earlier, Jim, and I think he mentioned that Serbia might come out a little bit more, which you'd like to think will suit England a bit more and give them a bit more chance to play. So while I think we're all hoping for a bit more performance, I thought over 2.5 goals and an England win at 2-1 could be the way to go. But as I mentioned, I think we're just hoping for a bit more of a positive performance and seeing that the likes of Eze and Kane and etc. just do what we know they can do in an England shirt, because we're all hoping that we're moving in the right direction, which I think Tuchel can, but it's been a little bit frustrating, I think, so far.
Absolutely. Charlie, 2 words, don't care. Thank you so much. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Of course I care. Simon, interestingly, yesterday there was no trash talk, but 2 very, very highly respected fighters were in the studio. And Fabio,
highly respectful as well.
And highly respectful. Yeah. Joseph Parker sat to my right. Sitting to Simon's left was Fabio Wardley. Yep. And the 2 go head-to-head at the O2 next month. Looking forward to that. And Frank Warren's going to join us very shortly.
I think it's a great fight. I mean, Frank's got a vice-like grip on the heavyweights, isn't he?
Yeah.
If you look at all the heavyweights, they're all his. All the best heavyweights in the world are his. So that probably makes the fight a little bit easier to make. But it doesn't mean that the fight, because it's been easier to make, is not going to be an exciting fight. I think Joe Parker must go in as favourite. But I think it's a really good fight. A really, really good heavyweight fight.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Frank Warren going to be in studio with us shortly. He's sitting in some traffic out there. Remember, there's a tube strike here in London at the moment, so getting around ain't that easy. It's a good time for Alex Crook to be joining us live, Simon, with so much going on. Nuno Espirito Santo sacked overnight. We told you a short time ago, live on this show, it's not when or if or whatever, it's happening. It's going to be confirmed shortly. Ange Postecoglou will take over from Nuno. Alex, tell us more. What have you got?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Never a dull moment, it seems, at Nottingham Forest. Not the biggest surprise, I don't think, they've decided to pull the trigger on Nuno. Obviously, those explosive comments that he gave before the draw against Palace last month have been resonating with Evangelos Marinakis ever since. I actually think the writing was on the wall before that. I think the reason that Nuno decided to speak out is because he was aware that various replacements had been sounded out, not least Ange Postecoglou. Forest sources claiming even in the aftermath of firing Nuno in the early hours this morning, they hadn't had a replacement lined up. I don't believe that to be the case. I think Ange has been waiting
Alex?
in the wings for several weeks now.
Why, Alex? Why were they looking for a replacement?
You don't fire a manager at 12:15 a.m. and then we've just seen footage of the new man, Ange Postecoglou, less than 12 hours later walking into the training ground.
That's not my point.
This has been lined up.
Why were they looking, prior to him creating an exit opportunity for either himself to get fired or the owner to fire him, you suggested that they were looking to replace him and he'd got wind of it. Why would they be looking to replace him? He was. I would imagine he was an unprecedented success. So why was that happening?
He was certainly a success on what he delivered last season in the Champions League places for much of the season, brought European football back to the club. But I think there have been problems there, Simon, behind the scenes ever since Edu came in as the sort of overlord of all the clubs that Evangelos Marinakis owns. I think Nuno wanted a greater say in terms of recruitment. He wasn't happy with the signing of Douglas Luiz in particular. I don't think it was a coincidence.
He gave him a 3-year deal, Alex, in the summer.
Yeah, but then Edu came in, didn't he, and took over the transfers. I think the relationship between Nuno and Evangelos Marinakis changed rather than dealing with Marinakis himself on a regular basis. He was asked to go through Edu. He didn't like that. As I say, the signing of Douglas Luiz was one in particular that he rallied against, not that because Douglas Luiz is a bad player, but because he wasn't really aware it was happening. He felt like other areas of the squad needed reinforcing first. Leaving him on the bench when they're 3-0 down at home to West Ham, I think was seen a little bit as sticking two fingers up to the hierarchy. And if he was going to stay, I think that probably signalled his exit. Same with Amari Hutchinson, signed for big money. He only got a minute of that game at the end against West Ham. If your new owner and your new head of recruitment, Edu, are lavishing you with new players, you are under pressure to use them. If you don't, and you lose 3-0 at home, then I think you put yourself in a very precarious position. And also, I think there's been an issue with playing style. This is something I mentioned a few weeks ago on talkSPORT, that Edu, as part of his remit overseeing all of Marinakis' clubs, is that he wants a more attack-based style of play, wants more progressive football, wants more possession-based football, which clearly Ange Postecoglou will bring. Nuno's argument was, look, we survived last season. We did very well last season, having little of the ball, hitting teams on the counter-attack. We qualified for Europe. We reached an FA Cup semi-final. And I think what we know about Nuno is he is quite stubborn. We saw that at the end of his Wolves tenure. So I think the writing was always on the wall.
Alex, we know it's Ange. Was it always Ange? Was it only Ange?
I think it was, Jim, to be honest. I mean, there were a few names that were being put out by Forest sources last night. Marco Silva, who I know is admired by Marinakis, worked for him for a year at Olympiacos. Andoni Iraola, I've got to say, I contacted someone senior at Bournemouth this morning, and they basically laughed at that link and said, why on earth would he leave Bournemouth to go to Nottingham Forest? So I think Postecoglou was a done deal before this statement.
And Alex, it begs the question, why Ange?
I think the playing style is a big part of it. As I say, I think they want to dominate games more. They want to be more entertained. And I believe that Postecoglou and Marinakis got close at an award ceremony in Greece. They've stayed in contact since then. I think it's fascinating to see how this works out. It's going to be a 2-year contract. We know that he's signed until 2027.
It's flabbergasting, isn't it, Alex? I mean, the playing style that they got Tottenham into 17th in the league, and the way that they won the Europa League was to play the polar opposite of it and be a side that had more discipline and sat in a bit more.
And that's why this is such a fascinating experiment, because obviously there's a lot of players in that squad who play the Nuno way. Will it work out? I'm going to be really intrigued to see. As I say, it's a 2-year contract. I think Mila Jedinek, who you know from Palace, is going to rejoin Ange as part of his coaching staff. There'll be others coming that he's worked with previously as well. But it's not that easy, is it, to come in 3 games into a season when a group of players have been used to playing a certain way, had success playing that way, and completely tear up the rule book. So I'm really interested to see how it pans out. I think Postecoglou will go in there with a point to prove. I think he feels like he was harshly treated by Spurs, having delivered that Europa League trophy. And I think what you've got to say for Marinakis, and this is why I don't think he's going to have a problem with the fans, he's made unpopular decisions in the past. There were protests when he got rid of Steve Cooper and brought in Nuno. Well, that didn't work out too badly in the end. So I think that Forest fans are going to back their owner. And if you speak to people close to the club, they'll say that Steve Cooper got us into the Premier League. He kept us there. Nuno kicked us onto a new level. Postecoglou, like him or loathe him, is a manager who does win trophies. Usually in his second season, as he tells us. They're hoping that this can be at the start of bringing silverware to the City Ground.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. Alex Crook bringing us right up to date live with the events this morning. And if you've just joined us at 11:45 this Tuesday lunchtime, where have you been? Because it's all happening. Nuno's been sacked by Forest. Incoming Ange Postecoglou. And Postecoglou set to be in place in the technical area on Saturday for the lunchtime kickoff at Arsenal. Arsenal against Nottingham Forest, with Ange in charge of Forest, and it's live on talkSPORT. As if that's not enough, big fight news coming up, because Frank Warren will be joining us live in studio. It's all happening. It's a busy one today. And, of course, England in action tonight over in Belgrade, a World Cup qualifier up against Serbia. It's our understanding here that Miles Lewis-Skelly is out of the England squad for tonight's game. That's what we know at the moment. Unconfirmed, but it's our understanding that the boy is out for the time being. So much to talk about, of course, this morning in the football front. Nuno Espirito Santo sacked overnight by Marinakis at Forest. He's gone. Incoming Ange Postecoglou. He takes over. It's a 2-year deal, and Forest will be kicking it all off at the weekend, 12:30 kickoff at Arsenal. Arsenal against Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest, and it's live on talkSPORT. Big Arsenal fan joins us live in the studio. That and a whole lot more, because he's the top promoter in the world of boxing, in my eyes, and he's Frank Warren, who's running Mr. Jordan very close this morning in terms of sartorial elegance, which he always does. Frank, very smart. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Jim.
Number 2 on the Boxing News Power List. Did you know that?
Turkey, come in and join us on the show.
Turkey Al Sheikh 1, Frank Warren 2.
Oh, I see.
Two most powerful men in boxing.
Oh, the two most powerful men in boxing. Frank, you've been a powerful figure in the world of boxing for many years, and you still are. A huge heavyweight title fight or announced yesterday, and we had the two fighters in here. Fabio Wardley, your man, sitting where you are today. Joseph Parker here. This is an exciting one. Before you come in, the two fighters in here blew us away in terms of the mutual respect that was flying around. Have a listen, Frank. Wardley and Parker in the studio yesterday.
Ever since, or since the fight was announced, the general talk is Joe is the obvious favourite, and not that I've come in to lose at all, but I'm expected to lose because he's more proven, he's more experienced, he's been at world level before, and this is my first step into that realm. I'm really, I say dipping my toe, I'm jumping head first into the water, really. So yeah, the general conversation is that I'm expected to lose in this, but I think that's been a running theme for I don't know how many fights now with, well, this is the step too far and this is the step too far. And like Simon said, every time I seem to find a way to win. There's many qualities that it takes to be a world champion, and maybe not doing things perfectly, but finding a way to win is one of those as well.
A lot of people are saying I'm the favourite going to this fight. I don't see myself as a favourite. I'm treating this as my championship of the world fight. That's how you should treat every fight. I'm taking this guy very seriously, and I've been building way back in New Zealand, and now I'm in Ireland, zoning in on what I have to do to prepare for what he brings.
Wow. So Parker against Wardley, live and exclusive on DAZN, and talkSPORT will be right across it as well. How did this one come about then, Frank?
Well, as we all know now, Alexander Usyk is injured, and the WBO, whose belt is next in line to be for a mandatory, have given him 90 days grace to not defend his title. Joe is the interim champion for the WBO. Interim champion Fabio is an interim champion as well. So they both want to fight. So we put them together and basically kill two birds with one stone. The winner of that becomes the mandatory challenger in 90 days' time for Usyk. So the winner gets the fight. So it's all or nothing. They're both putting it on the line. Both of them feel, obviously, that they can win the fight. That's why they're in it. And you've got to take your hat off to Fabio especially. You know, he's a guy who had no amateur experience. I think he's just about 20-odd fights now. And, you know, he is going in as the underdog, but he's got an equaliser. He's a massive puncher, as you see in his last fight. And I'm sure Fraser Clark will also acknowledge that. He can really punch. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a really, really exciting fight. And I'll take my hat off to both of them to stepping up to the plate.
Are you somewhat relieved when you hear that there's no trash talking? It's only respect between the two.
Yeah, I am. They're different personality. I mean, they're very respectful guys. Joe's a former world champion, so he's been there and done it. So he knows what it is, and you know, they're both two guys who do their talking in the ring. And I think Fabio and Joe are both great adverts for our sport.
Yeah. What did you say yesterday, Simon? Your head says Parker, but your heart says Wardley, or was it the other way around?
Well, yeah, because my heart would want the British lad to win.
Yeah.
You know, as charming as Joe Parker is, he's an Antipodean. I want a kid from England to win the fight to move on with his career. But on the balance of probability and the experiences that are there and the form that Joe Parker's in, I would suggest that they backs him the favourite.
Frank, we were so impressed by both of them. On Alexander Usyk, I mean, this injury situation that we've heard about with him, I mean, we love Usyk, Frank, everybody does. But, I mean, we saw recently he was in Ukraine, and there he is, Frank. Feast your eyes on that. An injured Usyk. For those watching on TV at the moment, you can see Usyk. He's like the lead singer in Kool and the Gang. He's going through something of a routine. And one wonders, injured?
Well, it looks to me like he's got a bad back there.
Well, dancing, Frank, and preparing for a heavyweight title fight.
He's,
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, they want to keep all their options open. You've got to believe they've got a doctor's note and so forth. It's all gone in, so we take it as whether it's genuine or not. Everybody's got a view on it. But the fact of the matter is his team are doing what they can for their man in as much they don't want it to fight this year.
Yes.
That's what's happening. He won't fight this year. That's why this fight's happening. And it holds up the division. I was saying before, before we went on air, people say, oh, how comes he's not fighting this one and why is this one waiting? Well, it's because there's 4 belts. He holds the 4 belts. All the mandatory challengers to those belts all have to wait their turn. So if you're 4th in line, and he only fights twice a year, you're not going to get a fight for 2 years for the title. And that's why it's good that we got these 2 interim champions together, because it takes one out.
I see. And Frank, both of them sat here yesterday and said, this won't go the distance. It will end in a knockout.
I agree with that. It'll be exciting. Look, the heavyweight division, I keep saying it's on fire. The big fights are happening. We're making fights happen. We're doing it on a regular basis. We're about to announce a couple more next week. Really good heavyweight fights next week. It's never been like this.
Yeah. Well, a lot to get through, actually, with you. Frank has come in, as I said, heavy congestion in this part of London this morning. But he's got to us, and that's good, because we have a lot to talk about. And don't forget, you can watch Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley live and exclusive on DAZN. And talkSPORT will be right across it as well. A lot to get through with Frank in the world of boxing. He touched on a couple of big heavyweight fights coming up. Maybe we'll be able to prize a bit more out of him, and we'll talk more. At the other side of 12 noon. Nuno's gone. Ange is in. Busy one.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 1 minute past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Things are moving fast. Ange Postecoglou's already been photographed at the Nottingham Forest training ground. We understand Ange will sign a 2-year contract. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook told us there have been problems behind the scenes at Forest since July.
Ever since Edu came in as the sort of overlord of all the clubs that Evangelos Marinakis owns, I think Nuno wanted a greater say in terms of recruitment. He wasn't happy with the signing of Douglas Luiz in particular.
Forest legend Stuart Pearce is concerned the team's not set up to play Postecoglou's front foot style.
Very much a counter-attack style of play, defending deep, which suits Milenkovic and one or two others. I think we saw against West Ham when they had to come out and chase the game, they become a little bit open and vulnerable.
Elsewhere, with a long throw back in vogue, Jeff and Ali on breakfast spoke to Tony Pulis.
Football's like fashion. It goes round. Are you wearing bell-bottoms now?
I mean, Ali's gear will come back into fashion one day.
Thomas Tuchel's talked about deploying the long throw with England. Pulis explains what you need.
The delivery has to be good, and you have to have people who want to head it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get those two, then it doesn't work.
So, Tino Livramento and Dan Burn to start tonight. Serbia versus England is live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. And Ben Stokes will be fit to play in the Ashes this winter, according to his Durham coach. After a shoulder injury, Stokes is batting again in the nets. Bowling will take a bit longer. Loads more Ashes build up on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
The BBC warned we may see more things coming out about broadcaster behaviour scandals, and released messages for Jeffrey Epstein appear to include Lord Mandelson calling the paedophile his best pal. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Across the west and southwest, showers, some heavy and thundery, breezy there as well. Elsewhere, mostly dry, the best of the sunshine across the north and east.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. I've got to say a big thanks to everybody for the involvement that you like to have in this show. All the messages, the texts coming in. Thank you so much. All the calls coming in. Honestly, we're here for you on a daily basis between 10 and 1. Courtesy of Selco, it's where the trade goes. This lunchtime, of course, we're looking ahead to Serbia against England tonight. Before the international break, who would have thought it? Nuno Espirito Santo in place at Nottingham Forest, not any longer out overnight. Incoming Ange Postecoglou. Forest back this weekend against Arsenal. It's the 12:30 lunchtime kickoff, and it's live on talkSPORT. A big Arsenal fan in studio with Simon and myself this lunchtime. He's that and a whole lot more. He's a top promoter in boxing, and he's Frank Warren. And Frank, an enormous amount of interest in the Parker Wardley fight, I can tell you. Many people telling me to tell you they look forward to it immensely. Not least because of the way they came over yesterday, how impressive they were yesterday. Wardley being asked questions by Simon and of Joseph Parker. The two were great. But of course, so much to look forward to, not least with the revelation that is Moses Atoma. What can you tell us this lunchtime?
Moses is fighting in December. We'll be announcing opponent, I hope, within the next week, 10 days. And that'll be in Manchester in December.
Wow. Is it a question of who is brave enough to go in with Moses Atoma?
Well, look, he's had 13 fights now, and I've never seen a fighter of his age in the heavyweight division ever to be fighting the quality of the opposition that he's done. I mean, you go back and look at, say, when AJ turned pro, you look at, Tyson Fury, all of them. At that age, they either were still amateurs or fighting lesser opponents, and he stepped up to the plate. And it's not just how he's won, not how he's won the fights, it's how he's won them. He's got so much maturity in the ring, so much composure. He can punch, he can box. I mean, for me, he's a revelation.
Have you got to slow him down somewhat in terms of his expectation? Because after he demolished Dillian White, he was like, I'll take on anybody. But as a promoter, and obviously Francis, your son, is managing him, have you got to be careful? Just slow it down a bit, Moses.
The name of the game in promoting and managing is when you've, especially young fighters, is bringing them in and grounding them, learn their trade, and he's doing it very, very quickly. But you got to remember where the background he come from. He never had a senior amateur bout. They were junior amateur bouts. We did a deal with him when he was 16, and in that time when he was junior, he won the European Championships, knocked everybody out in the first round, and in the World Championships, if he didn't knock them out, he put them on the floor, and he knocked most of them out. He's never been beaten. And his mentality is, he just wants to fight, and he wants to fight anybody. And we do have to temper that. But he's very respectful. He's not brash. He's not Jack the Lad. He's not one of them, with plenty of chat and whatever. He doesn't have to do that. He does it so well in the ring.
In terms of the opponent, are you down to a couple, or are you talking to 2 or 3?
It'll be a top 10 ranked opponent.
Whets the appetite, Simon, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone thinks he's the real deal. The only question that hasn't been asked and answered is whether he can take it on the chin. We'll see. I think he probably can. Anyone that gets hit in the heavyweights has the propensity to get knocked out. But I think Moses Atoma has all the hallmarks. Frank knows it clearer than I do. And I'd like to see him in someone like someone against Hrgovic. Hrgovic probably won't be around at that time because of the cut that he sustained against David Adelaide. But it's those sort of fights that interest me. But I still think that they'd go through Hrgovic as well. So
we offered him that.
Did you?
He's been offered that fight, Hrgovic.
That's it.
There's two ways to say you don't want to fight. You say, I don't want the fight,
I want more money,
or I want £1 trillion for it.
Frank, that is the big breaking news. Moses Atoma will fight in Manchester in December.
Yeah.
Headline?
Looking forward to that. Headline fight. It begs the question, what now for Daniel Dubois? Because Dubois lost last time out to Alexander Usyk. And then, of course, there was post-fight, the split with Don Charles, his trainer. And Daniel Dubois came on this very show and spoke about that.
Just looking back, Don's been great for me. We won a world title together, but I was just thinking about moving forward and how I can improve myself, and yeah, that was my decision. I'm willing to give everything I've got left now, at this stage of my career, and become 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. That's my goal. I'm willing to do anything to get to that.
So, Frank, you're with us live. What next for Daniel?
We did offer him the fight that we did actually try to make the fight between him and Joe Parker. And unfortunately, he's injured. He has an injury, so he won't fight. I doubt if he'll fight again this year, but he'll certainly fight again at the end of January, February next year.
There was a suggestion that he was injured going into the fight, wasn't there?
Well, I've heard that, but, I heard it after the fight.
Yeah.
So I've got, with the greatest respect to everybody, it means nothing. If you're injured, don't fight.
Don't fight.
Don't want excuses afterwards. It's a waste of time. It means nothing.
What do you make to the split with Don Charles, Frank? Where'd you stand on that?
I don't. Excuse me. They had 3 really good wins together, exceptional wins, and I don't particularly like fighters changing trainers, jumping from here to there. I need my fighters to be settled, knowing what's going on and working together. But I'm not taking the punches. At the end of the day, that's got to be a choice that he makes. Don's a very good trainer, and it's unfortunate.
And has he got the right people around him, in your view? Has he got a good team around him yet?
He's got he's got a new manager, advisor in Sam Jones on board with him. He's got a new trainer, which he hasn't announced yet. We will see. We will see. I mean, look, I'm not going to blow my trumpet. Besides being a promoter, I also have managed fighters. I've managed more champions than anybody, I believe, anybody in the history of British boxing. At all the different levels. And you can only give them your advice. If they don't want to take your advice, what can you do?
And I assume if it had been down to you, you would have said to him or the people around him, look, no gatherings It was called a party in some.
Well, you know, it's
no gatherings on the day of or just before the fight.
I was unaware that they actually did it at for the fight with AJ, and it's not gatherings, whatever you want to call it. That's not for me. Is not, you know, not an ideal. It's not. It just shouldn't be happening, in my opinion. But anyway, the bottom line of all of it is it wasn't. That's part of it. It's getting to the time you're getting to the venue, hour and 20 minutes before a fight. That's nuts, But it's no good even saying all this now. That's things that we've said privately. We've had our discussions. It means nothing. It happened. You can't be going, you know, shouting and screaming at people before they're going to get into the ring. You know, they're in the most important fights of their life. This is all things for after the event. And you say what's going to be said. But the most important thing is that people learn from it.
I was going to ask you, I mean, there's a lot of people talked about it, me included, about the situation surrounding what happened in the lead up to that fight, turning up late to the event, potentially Daniel not fighting if he couldn't get his entourage and all this sort of stuff. You made it clear that you were going to have conversations with Daniel and perhaps his father as well. Have you been able to gain some clarity and order about events now going forward?
I think things going forward will be different.
Yeah?
I do. And they can have to be, because you can't...
In what way?
You just can't... Well... The most important thing, get to the venue on time. Yeah. I mean, you want to be in there. You want your fighter to be relaxed. You want him to be, you know, they're not worrying about other stuff, worrying about other people who are sitting watching fights. Mm-hmm. You want your man there. You want the guy who's having the fight of his life in the biggest fight ever, 4 heavyweight belts on the line. First time in this country ever happened. It should be going right.
Put your best version of yourself
forward.
You
leave nothing to chance. And what I don't like about it is that I don't want it to sound like if it weren't for that,
we'd have a chance.
That affected the decision. You know, Usyk boxed brilliantly that night. He done what he had to do. Daniel had a good couple of early rounds, and then it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Canelo Crawford this weekend.
Yeah,
of course, it's a massive one. Where'd you stand in that one?
Well, it's two guys who, you know, they're coming towards the end of their careers, both of them. Extremely great fighters, of generational fighters. You've got the naturally bigger guy against the smaller guy who's coming up in weight. Their last 2 fights, I thought the fight in Riyadh that Canelo had against, I can't remember his name now, but the guy, he basically run like a thief. I don't blame him. I mean, he went out and done what he'd done. Yeah.
William Skull.
William Skull. He done what he had to do, but you know, it wasn't a very exciting fight. And then Canelo against, was it Modric? I think he fought. It was a 12-0, good amateur, but 12 fights. I thought he gave him a lot of problems.
Are you watching this with an interested eye for Hamza? I
want that. We want that. He'd be at ringside. But
Hamza Shiraz,
I've got to go with my head, which my head says the bigger guy wins, and he's the naturally bigger guy.
And Frank, it's on Netflix. You're with DAZN. Are you surprised that Ben Shalom has gone in the BBC direction?
No, I think it's like being thrown off the boat and you're looking for a bit of wood to hang on to, and he's found a bit of wood in the BBC.
I like what you did.
He's done a deal. I think they've given him 4 dates a year, and it's better than no dates, isn't it? So he's working, and he's got to continue doing what he's doing. And Netflix are in there. You know, they're putting this fight on. DAZN's the home of boxing, as it is. Certainly it's the home of heavyweight boxing. All the heavyweights are on there, all the big heavyweight fights. It's exciting times for the fight game.
So he's been throwing the scraps now, has he?
Well, so throwing the scraps, he's gone and he's found himself a new home. But it's very difficult to run a boxing business with 4 dates a year.
Frank, before you leave us, I want to mention the world of boxing, of course. Sad news, and I'm sure you were extremely sad when you heard that we lost Joe Bugner.
Yeah,
the other day. How did you react to that news?
It was sad.
What's your memory of him?
My memory of him, he's the first fight I ever did on ITV in 1982 when I brought Joe Bugner back from America. And he was about 3 years older than me at the time. I was 30. I was 30, and I brought him back, and it was great fun. And his late wife as well, Marlene, she was a real character. His second wife. And it was just exciting times for me, certainly for me and certainly for him. And I think I did about 4 or 5 fights here. Then we did a fight in in America. He fought Marvis Frazier. He fought Joe Frazier and Marvis Frazier. And I got to tell you, he was a good fighter. He was a big man. He was one of the biggest guys massive big guy, and he could box. He wasn't adventurous. The fight he had with Muhammad Ali, the second fight, Kuala Lumpur, was it was a pretty mundane fight, and the feeling was from a lot of the press who were there and so forth that if he'd have applied himself a bit more, he might have got a result. But then he had this marvellous fight with Joe Frazier. I think it was at Earl's Court, and it was an unbelievable fight. He went down, and it was a prime Frazier. What's the one who washed up Joe Frazier? And the last round he came back, and it was a very, very close fight. And that was the era of 15-round fights, great heavyweights. And if he was around today, he would have. It wouldn't have surprised me if he'd won a world title. It was a terrible tragedy. He died of Alzheimer's, but he was a fun guy as well. He had a great sense of humour.
Yeah.
And, I'm grateful that because of him, I wound up getting my big ITV deal, and I think I was with him for 15 years after that.
Frank, great having you on board today. Thank you so much for stopping by. We must go shirt shopping again soon. I enjoyed that.
Listen, I expect you to be wearing a collar next time I come in the studio.
Sorry about that.
Get you out the shirt.
I wasn't advised you were coming in. I will do. And just to recap that fight, Fabio Wardley in studio yesterday alongside Joseph Parker, and we're looking forward to it immensely. Joseph Parker against Fabio Wardley, live and exclusive on DAZN, and talkSPORT have it. They're right across it as well. Frank Warren with us live this lunchtime in studio.
Boxing Update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing.
Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Our thanks to Frank Warren, and remember this Saturday sees an anticipated rematch as Lewis Crocker and Paddy Donovan battle it out for the IBF welterweight title in an historic All-Irish World Championship clash. Watch only on DAZN. We look forward to that. This next fella likes his boxing, he tells me, and when you look at it, on a morning when we've seen the likes of Nuno sacked at Forest, how appealing is the world of football management? Lots of people harbour huge ambitions, it seems, to get into this industry, the football industry, get in the dugout and do their bit, in spite of the almost inevitability that sometime along the way they'll be sacked. We're joined by a man this lunchtime who, ironically, was put centre stage at Southampton on multiple occasions due to the sackings of Russell Martin and Ivan Juric, and he is Simon Rusk, who joins us live in studio. Simon, good afternoon, mate.
Good afternoon, great to be here.
It's good to see you again. You're a fan of the show and a fan of this man, which you were telling me very quietly when he was outside the studio, but it's good to hear. And now he's in the studio.
Yep.
But you enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was talking about my current time out of work, bit of time to reflect, but also a bit of time daily to do something different. And one of the different things I've been doing is tuning into the show every day. So yeah, genuinely great to be here.
And you're a big fan of boxing as well?
Yeah, real big fan of boxing. Down in Southampton, obviously, got to know Ryan Garner and his coach really well, so followed that, and always interested in the crossover in different sports, and boxing to football. I think there's a lot to take.
Simon, we'll bring it up to date in a moment as to where you've been more recently. You've also got a strange link, have you not, with Evangelos Marinakis, Nottingham Forest, Nuno?
Yeah, went into Nottingham Forest to undertake the role of set-piece coach. Obviously went in with Steve Cooper and went on to work for a period of time under Nuno as well.
How do you look back on that?
Yeah, I think obviously there's a wider conversation about the set-piece role in general, but all managers got their own way of working and didn't really get to know Nuno on a deeper level, so moved on fairly briefly, and it was a great experience working with some great players, and definitely a good experience for my wider role as a head coach.
I mean, I don't know if you want to get into it, but there were suggestions it was Nuno who sidelined you. Was that true?
No, I think, look, when obviously I was recruited to come into Nottingham Forest as the set-piece coach role, it was under Steve that wanted more of a global role for me, so to not just do set pieces but be a coach as well on the grass, and I think as it evolved under Nuno, it's probably going to turn into something slightly different, which is fine. Every head coach has got their own way of working. I think in terms of my own role, my daily fulfilment, and how the role was going to be executed every day, it made sense that I moved on to something else.
I mean, this fella beside you, nothing surprises him. The amount of time he's been in football, was at the very top at Crystal Palace, of course. Does nothing surprise you, Simon? The sacking of Espirito Santo this morning. You think, really? Or did you think, was it almost inevitable after crossing swords with the likes of Marinakis, who you know?
Yeah, well, look, I think the first thing is, no one truly knows, other than the guys involved in that directly within the club, the complexities involved, the dynamics taking place, perhaps the vision. So again, it wouldn't be for me to comment on the intricacies of that, but I do think it's a nature of the beast now. We've got probably in this country the best product of football league in the world, and with that becomes high demand. I'm not an accountant, but the type of figures involved in the Premier League now, there's going to be decisions where people see things differently and want to move in different directions, and I don't think football in the Premier League is any different from any other business from that point of view, although at times it can seem quite brutal with the decision making.
Yeah, I mean, Simon, we often say the Premier League is like no other, and everybody wants to be successful. I mean, it's as simple as that, and there are casualties along the way, and Nuno is the latest.
Yeah, I mean, success is all relative, isn't it? I mean, no one could really argue that a manager that took a team that I tipped to be relegated, that had circled around the plug of relegation for a couple of seasons, to a team that was potentially sitting in the Champions League spot for the bulk of the season. So he had relative success. Now, if you then believe the backstory that Alex Cook was peddling us, that there was a style of play issue, which I think owners should try and keep their nose out of as much as they possibly can. A winning team is more important than the style of play, in my view. But I understand the world's turned and changed. So if you look at it and say, does everybody want success? Well, they had success. So what success do you want? So Marinakis would appear to have been courting another manager behind the manager, which is his prerogative. He can do as he wants. He's an employee. He's got a paid guy. If he wants to get rid of Nuno Espirito Santo, he pays him. The fact is that Nuno Espirito Santo helped him.
Yeah.
Now, he may well have helped him in that outburst because it was a stupid outburst. It would have only gone one way because he knew what was coming on down the train tracks.
Yeah.
In terms of he wasn't being valued anymore. The relationship with Edu probably wasn't what he wanted. He didn't sign on for that. He signed on for a relationship with Marinakis, and Marinakis pivoted it into a director of football, which again is his prerogative. And all of those things are a changing. It's like a hamster wheel, isn't it? Yeah. A changing perspective.
How did you find Marinakis and any dealings you had with him, Simon? I interviewed him after Forest went up to the Premier League, and it was quite memorable in its craziness. I was in a suite at Wembley, and he was bouncing off walls, telling me it was going to be trophies. It's going to be trophies. How did you find him?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a great deal of dealings with Mr. Marinakis, but what I would say is, you've got to have a great deal of gratitude for the person who's employing you at any football club, and he certainly put his weight and finance behind that football club, and you have to be grateful for that as an employee and do your job within that whatever football club you're at to the best of your ability. So not a great deal of dealings, but certainly I felt the ambition, that's for sure.
Simon, I know you had interim spells in the Premier League last season with Southampton. The other side of 12:30, we'll get into that with Simon Rusk. And also, we'll talk about what is next for him. What's next for us? The 12:30 bulletin this Tuesday lunchtime.
We understand Ange Postecoglou is ready to accept the Nottingham Forest job. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I believe he's turned down the advances of Fenerbahce in recent days over in Turkey, so that's a pretty big clue as well. And I think what attracts Evangelos Marinakis, the Forest owner, to Postecoglou is what we were speaking about earlier this morning, that attacking, exciting playing style.
Marinakis wants to make a swift appointment. We've also heard the Forest owner admires Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola. Nottingham Forest's next game is away to Arsenal, and that's live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Now, the Serbian FA are asking fans to be on their best behaviour tonight. The stadium's at reduced capacity after Albanians were abused during their recent qualifier in Serbia. Here's our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers.
They could potentially be sanctioned again by UEFA for any indiscretions tonight, and then have to play that crucial game against Albania behind closed doors. So, hopefully tonight will go without incident.
Well, Harry Kane's ready to lead England off if they're subject to any racism. Serbia versus England is live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. And Ben Stokes will be fit to play in the Ashes this winter, according to his Durham coach. After a shoulder injury, Stokes is batting again in the nets, but bowling will take a little bit longer. Loads more Ashes build up on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
Been a busy morning and it's not over yet. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT, and of course we're coming live to you on your TV as well. You can watch us live on YouTube and a whole bunch of other ways as well. On the day that Nottingham Forest parted company with Nuno Espirito Santo, in comes Ange Postecoglou. It's a 2-year deal and it all gets underway for Ange and Nottingham Forest on Saturday. The early kick-off, 12:30 kick-off at Arsenal. Ange Postecoglou back in football. This fella has been in football for a considerable period of time. Simon Rusk, former Southampton interim manager, former under-19s coach with England, a decade at Brighton. I mean, Simon, you've had some time in football, but at a more than decent level. And I know he'll bristle at this, but Brighton, a special club. You were under-23s head coach at Brighton, stepping up from your role as under-18s coach. And so I'm often asked, are Brighton as well run as they're made out to be? The answer to that I give is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, best part of a decade working at the club, where I worked with the 18s to 23s and, significant spells with the first team as well. So great for my experience and development as a young coach then. My main remit at the football club was working with some very, very talented young men that went on to eventually play right at the top of the game, the likes of Rob Sanchez, Ben White, and more recently in the headlines, Victor Gyökeres. So, but a great experience for me, and I'm certainly very grateful for my time there and development as a coach.
What about Gyökeres? What's he going to give Arsenal? Were you surprised he ended up there? To be honest,
I think surprised is the wrong word, but delighted. Because obviously when you work with these younger players, you know their journey. You know the adverse periods. You know the times where it wasn't smooth, and you see these big multi-million-pound transfers and you see the finished article with a 26, 27-year-old. But of course, for me, I remember the journey when they were 15, 16, 17, in the tough times, that even getting the knockbacks of being behind the curve. So, I genuinely hope he goes on to be a success there, because obviously I'm biased for the guys I've worked with.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious about how that pans out for him. I certainly wish him well.
Has he got it to do it? I mean, is it in him?
Well, I think he's there, isn't he? So obviously the guys that have done the work and, got behind the transfer there and have seen his success overseas, they believe so. So certainly, why not?
Yeah. It's a changing game all the time. Simon and I have been talking about Nuno going. Maybe didn't help himself, Simon. But anyway, in comes Ange. As far as you're concerned, you had interim spells in the Premier League last season with Southampton. Was there some disappointment, Simon, that you didn't stay there after the appointment of Will Still?
No, I don't think disappointment. I think, where it eventually got to, and when Will was coming into the club, I think for the amount of time that I was interim, I think to revert back to being a third choice coach, if you like, I think the dynamics and the relationship and the energy is probably... It made sense that, we went separate ways, although, really fond of my time there. Great football club, and I certainly wish the club, all the best in getting back in the Premier League. But no, I think it was the right thing.
What was your takeaway then when you look back in that at Southampton and what went on latterly there? Russell Martin struggles. In comes Ivan Juric. You never thought that was an appointment that was ever going to work.
No.
And dragging so like a man I know, and obviously Simon will know, he made that appointment. Why did you not think it would work with Juric?
I didn't see the fit. Didn't see the purpose of the fit. The only thing I could possibly imagine that they spoke the same language.
And that was it. No more.
Couldn't see it. Couldn't see it. Couldn't see why he was brought in. Didn't think there was enough in his track record to tell that he was going to provide the solution to Southampton's problem. Didn't think his style of play. Didn't think his man management had all the capabilities to arrest the slump. And I don't think I was wrong, was I?
I mean, what was the problem at that time at the football club, would you say, Simon? Is it a philosophy issue? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot made of, the club's inability to get points, really, over the course of the Premier League season. And I think what we certainly had seen in the season preceding as well, that the three teams coming up really found it hard to compete. So I don't think it's not something you can isolate to one particular thing. I think there's an accumulation of lots of things. Obviously I was brought into the club to sort of get some of the more talented younger players and work closely with the first team and get them in. And I ended up with more of a global role in leading the club forward. So I think what we did have in Russell and Ivan, two good guys who I really liked, both treated me very well, both got to know really well, but very, very single-minded and determined into their approach of how the game should be played. So, whether that's right, whether that's wrong, that's how they went after it. Obviously, it didn't accumulate in enough points to keep them in their job or contribute to us staying in the Premier League. So for myself, I inherited a situation where the guys had, the dressing room was disillusioned and quite low, as well as the whole training ground. And for me, whether it was the philosophy or whether it was the quality in the building, that probably wasn't for me to formulate an opinion on. What for me was important was, about putting a team on the pitch that could be competitive, because it had been a really difficult year for the guys.
Yeah, and you were competitive. I mean, you get a 0-0 with Manchester City.
Yeah.
Ruben Diaz came out and said, well, you're anti-football if you play like that. I mean, you can't win, can you?
Yeah, but, equally, I'll take it as a compliment. I'd rather that than lose 3-0 and get told that's,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the way Southampton played today. So, look, what we did have in them 7 games, we had, Manchester City, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Fulham, teams that are flying, last ever game at Goodison. So I knew it was going to be tough. And I knew that, it was really important to me that, the football club as a whole, wasn't put in scenarios where, there could be humiliation or heavy defeats. So for me, it was massively important that we limited, the type of chance we were giving away. And as a result, that meant an element of pragmatism, and that meant our priority was to be hard to beat and allow the self-esteem to hopefully come back a little bit into the football club, to bounce them into the next season, which is now the Championship, and basically do what I felt was the intelligent thing to do. And I think overall I look back at that time and go, I'm confident we've done the right thing, and critically, we got them points that allowed us to move past the record, which was really important to the football club.
Exactly, which says a lot. And says a lot about your time in charge, Simon. And you want to get back in, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, of course.
I mean, I was joking at the top, this insane game when Nuno gets sacked overnight and in comes Ange Postecoglou. But you want to get back in because it's what you do. And you've done a lot. You've done a lot at various levels. What do you still feel you've got to offer, Simon? When it comes to enthusiasm, you get shed loads of it. But you've got that and a whole lot more.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all get to this stage where, and I do think one thing and I'd say to any, younger coach than myself, you've got to be prepared to be in it for the long game. So, and I think where the game has got to, the modern games, you dip in and out of different type of roles now, where back in the day, maybe someone was a manager and they were a manager, whereas now you look at, lots of guys within the game, at some point you're a head coach, at some point you're an assistant. You look at Gianni Van Bronckhorst now, he's manager at Rangers, now an assistant at Liverpool, for example. So I think you can be quite open-minded about your career now, but, certainly I think my skill set, lends itself to me having the hunger to be a head coach. But I think it's only right that, you remain open-minded about where your career can take you.
And of course, you worked with England.
Yeah.
So you had Gyökeres when you were at Brighton. You had Adam Wharton.
Yeah.
With England. Kobe Mainoo.
Yeah.
What are these guys capable of? Mainoo, at the moment, hitting the headlines for maybe not the kind of reasons that he would wish.
Yeah, I mean, it's, with the international role to the club role when you're working with younger players, you're obviously borrowing players from other clubs that got different philosophies. So, but without doubt, the two players you mentioned, brilliant talents and really good to work with in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think when you're working with these younger guys, I think it's less about what you're trying to influence technically or tactically. Of course, that's important and it's sort of second nature to myself as well. But you're coaching above the shoulders. You're trying to influence their way of thinking, their toolbox in adversity, their ability to lean into themselves and understand truths. To actually understand, that external things are out there now in an abundance. And these younger guys, I think you've got to coach them to stay real, to stay true to themselves and actually lean into themselves and be accountable for themselves. So for me, when I'm seeing these guys on their journeys, it's fascinating actually to see, the adversities they come along, the successes, where it might take them. And but certainly two top talents for sure.
That must be music to your ears. I mean, it's up to these kids to face up to the challenge that they face on a daily basis. Every single day. It's down to them where they get to. Simon can only help.
Of course. It's about, coaching above the shoulders is about creating a mindset and creating a resilience culture inside players. And we play hundreds of players with bags of talent. It's not about the talent to some extent. That gets you to a certain point. There's a different mentality that requires you to be an elite footballer. And that's the balance. That's the fact that players have got to take responsibility for themselves. They can't learn that lesson.
Yeah.
That's not something you can teach.
Yeah.
You can help install it or reinstall it or reinvigorate some confidence. But young players are given such opportunities that it's such a difficult time to be a young player, as well as such a huge opportunity because so many distractions, so much money. And if you can keep agents and money out of the equation, then you get, you know, give me the boy and I'll give you the man to some extent.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the idea of, I like the Jude Bellingham situation, despite the fact that people think his father's getting ahead of himself and whatever else. I think the fact that his father's been in his life and guiding him has given him the right principles to give him an opportunity for his talents, undeniable talent, to come to the surface.
A lot is made about England's style of play, Simon, to finish with, but you've been involved, of course, at the level you were talking about there with England, and we see Tuchel at the top level now with the senior team. Is it all joined up the way that they want England to play at whatever level, from youth right through to senior, right through to the top tier?
I think it's reasonable that the principles and values are going to be lined up, but I think it's also reasonable that, coaches and teams have the expression to adapt and play, maybe vary what they do tactically. So, I think in principle it's joined up, but I think there has to be that room for a bit of flexibility within what you're doing. That only would make sense. But I think overall it is joined up, yeah.
Brilliant. Simon, brilliant. We wish you well. I hope you get back in sooner than later. I like the idea that this fella has done so much in the space of time, but in different positions within the game, Simon. And as an employer, that's the kind of thing I would have thought you'd embrace.
Balance it, with all due respect to him. You don't want someone to become a jack of all and a master of none. But the fact of the matter is, it gives you a very eclectic view. And we've just seen people turn their noses up at set piece coaches and what they think is set pieces are a massive part of the game. Corners being awarded now for goalkeepers taking too long to handle the ball. Corners become more prevalent. So the margins of error. I'm not in the Bluffer Brailsford camp of margins of error give you an opportunity, or margins of small margins give you big outcomes.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's a space and place for everything. in sport. And I think that we've now seen that the attitude towards coaching and the way that coaching is applied and what coaches can achieve for themselves isn't just limited. So Keith Andrews is the poster boy for that opportunity. And he's got an eclectic view, an eclectic set of experiences. So it'll stand him in good stead. If he interviews well, he gives himself an opportunity, won't he?
Simon, good luck, mate. It's great having you on board today.
Great to be here. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Simon Rusk with us live in studio as we head towards 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime. Now then, the clock is ticking on our biggest competition yet. Next Friday, we'll be ringing 2 lucky listeners on air. Look forward to that. There's £25,000 up for grabs. Both winners will get tickets to Oasis' final ever show at Wembley. It's your chance to be part of it and have 25,000 quid in your pocket. That's good. Imagine the possibilities with that kind of cash. Don't look back in anger. Make sure you enter, and here's how you do it.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Oasis to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 treble38. All entries must be received by the 19th of September at 9 a.m. This is a TalkSPORT limited promotion run on TalkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
How lovely. It's time for this.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
We're going to pick out who's been the real deal this week with Selco Builders Warehouse. If they get a win tonight against Serbia and Harry Kane puts the ball in the back of the net, he might just be the real deal. But Simon, Kane has responded to former England striker Michael Owen, who claimed that Kane was, quote, nuts for moving to Germany despite having the opportunity to become the Premier League's record goal scorer. Owen said, Harry Kane is lethal. He's a brilliant finisher. I disagreed with him going to Germany. I was outspoken about that, says Michael. I still think he was nuts. You're on the verge of being the all-time Premier League goal scorer. I don't see it. So Kane sat on 213 Premier League goals for Tottenham when he left, 48 away from breaking Shearer's tally, and Michael thinks he was nuts to do it. What do you think? I mean, he's gone to Bayern Munich. Harry would argue, decisions are best for me, and I'm really happy that I made the decision to go. I'm very happy at Bayern Munich now. So he's saying it's working out for him, and it probably is.
Well, he's gone and won, for what it's worth to him, the German Bundesliga. I don't, as an Englishman, don't feel that that's something hugely compelling, but he wasn't going to win the Premier League with Spurs, was he? So there was only a transfer in the UK that doesn't look like there was a place for it to happen, for him to go to a Premier League winning side. I don't think the opportunities were quite as available for someone of his talent, undoubted. And Michael's entitled to his opinion. I'm sure Harry Kane couldn't care less what his opinion is.
Yeah.
Michael. I remember talking to Michael. Michael believes emphatically that players of his generation were far better than the players now. Far better talent, far more technical. And I suspect that the Erling Haalands of the world and the Harry Kanes and the Neymars and those sort of people would probably beg to differ. Michael's got an opinion. It's nice to see him given one for a change. We've seen the referee show. We just asked to stop questions. So nice to see Michael giving a strong opinion.
I mean, Harry had to choose between records and trophies, didn't he? And decided I want to win a few things.
Yeah, who knows the economics of the deal? I mean, we know that Tottenham have a wage structure of a certain level, the Bayern Munich situation. Michael Owen left to go to Real Madrid. So what does he think that Harry Kane's losing? What does he think that Harry Kane... Is he going to have it chiselled onto his tombstone then? I was the Premier League's record goal scorer. Is that what he thinks he's going to miss out on?
When it comes to the real deal, Simon, in the short and then the long term, if there is to be a long term for Ange at Nottingham Forest, can you see him being the real deal, going in there and shaking it up the way that that Marinakis would wish him to do?
Well, again, it depends what Marinakis wants, doesn't it? Marinakis had Nuno Espirito Santo and they achieved things that even he would have probably not envisaged that they were going to achieve last season, and didn't want it, it would seem. If we to believe what's being said, that he was also courting other people before Espirito Santo started talking out of school, and perhaps might explain the reason why he was talking out of school, then you've got to say, what does that look like? Is Ange Postecoglou's CV strong enough to suggest that the car crash that he made of Tottenham's league form last year was washed away by his Europa League? With due respect to him, yes, he did absolutely, and I'm pleased that he got to say something and then back it up. But they played against a very poor Man United side in the final. It wasn't a case of we can only beat what you want. They were a very poor side.
Yeah, but they still won it.
Poor final.
And Marinakis told me at Wembley, at Nottingham Forest, I want trophies, and Ange won one.
Okay, let's see.
With Tottenham.
I mean, Ange Postecoglou, personality-wise, outlook-wise, antipodean, disposition, all are ticks in the box. What we saw at Tottenham wasn't good enough. Doesn't matter how he wants to dress it up. What we saw from Ange were things that he said to the media, which I thought was silly. And it's easy to say it when you're not having to be in the limelight. But if you do it 52 times a year, so if you do it 100 times a year, 200 times a year, you are conversant with who you're talking to, so you can control what comes out of your mouth. And so I don't know what he's going to do for Nottingham Forest and whether the style of play was the real issue. If they're going to get a different style of play, have they got the personnel there to be able to meet the expectations or to be able to deliver the outcomes?
Yeah.
So the Forest fans are absolutely right to back their owner. He's entitled to do as he wishes because everything he does he backs up and backs up with money. And everything he's done, with a few exceptions, but most of the time, the principle is he gets it right.
Okay. Nuno has gone. Ange is at the training ground and set to be announced. That was our pick for this week's Real Deal with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan approaching 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime. We'll be back tomorrow.